Howdy and welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. PrideofDetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. We say it every week, but you know how to find us because we give you the name about 18 times. So download the podcast on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes if you still use that somehow, iHeartRadio. Find Pride of Detroit on PrideofDetroit.com, at Pride of Detroit on Twitter. The Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit. Every Monday, soon coming to you on Sundays during the season, because the season is almost here. We're almost through July. The month has gone insanely fast, and to prove that, we are now doing the last of our Listcast series. We always save the worst for last, quarterbacks. Not really that interesting or necessary of a position if you think about it. They're kind of outdated. I don't know why we keep doing quarterbacks. Yeah. To elucidate on why he don't think we need quarterbacks anymore, here is my partner, the fearless leader on Pride of Detroit, mustacheless now for, I think, 100 days, Jeremy Reisman at Detroit Online.
Yeah, I mean, if I were a GM, I'd just trade away all my quarterbacks for a couple first-round picks. That seems like a really smart move this day.
It is. It is. Listen, I just saw a guy win a Madden tournament. He put the Washington punter in at quarterback, and he just ran the ball. I have see no reason why you can't replicate that in reality. None whatsoever.
We certainly didn't see 3 years of trying that and not work.
Interesting. Third man, who is not frozen on a Peacock stream somewhere, Ryan Matthews. At Ryan_POD. So knock the pro wrestling reference right off your bingo card right away.
Yeah, nice job. You know what, guys? I want to push back on this whole quarterback thing because, I don't know, I've never seen an offensive tackle score, points the way that a quarterback can. So, I don't know. I think they're pretty important.
Listen, Taylor Decker scores touchdowns once every couple seasons, so I think that's good enough.
All right, fair point. I'm back on board.
We call him Taylor Dex. Dex the competition. Dex the ball to the... I can't do this. Okay, I thought I was going to do a Danny Dimes kind of thing, and it just fell apart mid throw, kind of like Taylor Decker throwing the football.
You don't know that. I haven't seen that.
Okay.
Although he did throw it into the stands, I think, after his touchdown. So
yeah,
maybe that counts.
As one is wont to do, and be like, oh right, I need that back. Hey, let's get right to it. So we do have the quarterback list cast coming in a second, but first, as we said, this is our last episode before training camp, and I think there's no better way to end our look to the offseason with a look towards the future, past this season. I think we've told you guys enough, and it's terrible because we have to pivot, kind of like heels in wrestling, that this season doesn't matter as much, but we're going to be talking constantly about training camps and the games themselves. But one last salvo for that, in that we're looking towards how confident are you in the future of the Detroit Lions?
The future,
ESPN,
Chris?
The future.
All the way to the year 2000. Sorry.
Hey, maybe we'll have... yeah, I know. You just... I don't know what to do with you sometimes. I really don't. ESPN.com put out a future power rankings. Now, you follow us on Twitter. Maybe we've been picking on ESPN.com a little bit much with their power rankings and metrics that they've been chewing out there. All I know is when they first unleashed QBR upon the world, it was not great. But Ryan, I think you shared this with the class. ESPN.com, I think, has the Lions in 31st for future power rankings.
Yeah, not good. There's only one team with a bleaker outlook than the Detroit Lions, and if you guessed the Houston Texans, you are right. But it doesn't get much bleaker than that. Like, there's only one team that's doing worse, and they don't even know if their quarterback is going to play this year. Yeah, for the Detroit Lions, they come in 31st. They were just in this position where it seems like, based on their metrics and everything, they ranked pretty low. Overall roster was at 31st. Quarterback was at 29th. Coaching was at 25th, which is kind of maybe surprising just because it's a new head coach. So that at least shows a little bit of a vote of confidence from the people that they polled for Dan Campbell. But draft 23rd. That was the highest that they ranked in terms of, and again, that's only seeing one draft from Brad Holmes and company, and front office ranked 26. So I don't know. Jeremy, are you irked by 31st? Do you feel like they should be higher? Do you feel like they should be all the way at 32?
Well, I mean, we have to kind of back up and talk about like the methodology here. They're basically polling a bunch of analysts at ESPN and thinking, how does this team outlook look? I think it's over the next 3 years, right? That's kind of the idea of how good these teams look for the next 3 years. And like you mentioned the five metrics that they used, and they're kind of like the offensive line metrics that they used to rank the Lions 29th or whatever. They're kind of just they're set up for the Lions to fail at because like you said, they have coaching, they have draft, they have front office. The Lions haven't proved anything there. Like, of course they're not going to be in the top 10, top 15, top 16. They're in a new regime. Like, that's not fair to judge a coach and place him at 25th. Like, maybe that's high for a brand new coach, but it's not fair. Like, is Dan Campbell going to be the 25th worst or 25th best coach in the NFL? Maybe. He might be better. He might be a lot better. He might be a little bit worse. He can't be much worse. Same with the draft and same with the front office. And I think the one thing that this thing isn't taking into account is future resources, right? Like, this team has a bunch of extra picks coming next year and the year after that, compensatory picks, and a boatload of salary cap to their benefit to make this team look a little bit better. And so, I'm not irked really. I think the methodology is flawed here, and I don't I can't bang the table and be like, you should have Dan Campbell ranked as the 16th best coach, because I have nothing to base that on. Same with the draft, same with the front office. Quarterback is a little low, 29th. I think, again, we talked about this last week. I don't know why Jared Goff has suddenly pissed off everybody and made it seem like he's literally a bottom tier quarterback, but he's been an average quarterback at worst pretty much his entire career. So I think that's low. Overall roster being 31st, I can't really argue with. Again, I think Lions fans would beg to differ there, but I'm not one of them. I think this roster isn't that talented. I think 31st is probably a good spot for them until we see how their draft picks turn out, see how their year 2 guys develop in the offseason. But yeah, I'm not mad about it. I just think the metrics work against the Lions here.
Again, the national media's perception, and we have to keep doing this, is that most mock drafts are having the Lions going at first overall in the next NFL draft. So unless it's coming from the Rams pick, which I don't think that's going to happen, that's telling you where they're at. I find some of the worries, like Louis Riddick wrote their biggest worry part. I will single him out because, once again, he's talking about kneecaps. How can you play for a guy who likes kneecaps? I have to question his leader if the players will buy into his leadership style, because he talked about kneecaps. Lazy. Damn lazy. He admits that Campbell hired a good coaching staff. Okay, great. Then just that should be the focus, not a one-off from a press conference. I'm so tired of seeing this kneecap shit. Lean into it, Lions, by all means. But I don't want to hear from anyone talking about, I don't know if I'd play for a guy who talks about kneecaps. A, you would. B, you would. C, you would. D, you would. You spent 3 years hyping up that asshole Patricia? No, come on. Come on. It's just, I get the other things you're talking about there. It is set up for the Lions to do bad at this metric. I think for me, interesting thing was overall roster minus QB. They ranked them 31, and that seems to be what's really holding them down right now, which, granted, true. Very true, but I also think that when you're looking towards the future, you're looking towards what they did in the draft. And yeah, you want to look towards that extra draft capital. So the best they get in draft is 23, though. So, I don't know.
Well, I think that's, if they could have highlighted a place for optimism, right? Like Field Yates talks about how there isn't a whole lot of pressure on the Lions to do much this season, and that they have the ability to be patient and wait. And they have, as you mentioned, Chris, they have future draft capital. So that roster can't really start turning over until, obviously those draft picks are used to either, acquire other players through trade or to draft players themselves. So, I don't know. The Louis Riddick part really kind of bothered me, just because personally, I think it kind of came off as like a guy who's a little bit burned that he didn't get a GM job.
Right.
Look, I don't know.
Like-
I just, again, it's so like, if you take away the kneecap thing, and you put anyone's face in there besides Dan Campbell, and you tell him, hey, this guy was the assistant to Sean Payton for close to like what, a dozen years, and he's from the and like he has ties to Bill Parcells from both coaching side and from playing side. You take away the face, you take away the voice, you take away all that, you put an extra sticker in there, and you throw that in front of analysts, they'll say, oh, that sounds very enticing. But because it's Dan Campbell, because we saw him in Miami, and because he talks funny, everyone's like, oh, I don't know about his leadership. That's just not. It's not.
It's lazy. It's lazy.
It's incredibly lazy. It's insanely lazy.
I just like. How can you question a guy's leadership before the dude even leads? Like, and if you're going to question guys' leadership, maybe take a note from all the players that are like, this is awesome so far.
Or maybe look at his leadership in New Orleans. Yeah. Stop just Sean immediately
decided this guy
crediting it to Sean Payton.
Sean Payton recognized this guy as a leader and put him in an assistant head coach job so that he could be a leader of a team one day. Everything points to this guy actually being a very, very good leader, yet everyone questions it because he wore a space helmet.
Yeah, he wore a space helmet, or like you're still stuck on him having to come in at the last minute for 12 games and somehow right the ship on the Joe Philbin Miami Dolphins. It's just, I don't know, man. It felt like because we dragged that hire for various reasons, being the Jamel Hill critique of it, or from the kneecaps part, or anything else you want to go to that people have just decided, hey, bullseye on his back. And you know what? It'll pay off because the Lions aren't in a good position to do anything this year anyway. So they know they'll score easy I'm right points. Yeah. Trust me on this. I work in sports talk radio. I know how this works. Riddick is setting himself up there to get easy points in the win column. I don't fault him at all, but at the same time, I also know what he's doing, and I'm telling you, it's when you're then supposed to put it into analysis, come on. Like, I would much rather look at the Lions in regards to, and I know I'm starting this off sounding hyper defensive of the Lions, and that's not the point, but you have a very talented, very young offensive line, which I think Jeremy Fowler was the one to point that out, that the average starting age of the starting five is just under 25 years old. The only one over 27 is Vaitai, and you have the core three of Decker, Ragnow, and Sewell under contract for 4 seasons. That's a hell of a place to start. I get that there's plenty of problems with the defense, but I don't know. It seems low to me, but at the same time, like, as always, it has the Lions name in front of it, so it's an easy target. But my point is, like, if you're a Lions fan and seeing this, it's like, yeah, what's there to lose?
Well, I think the other thing that bothered me, though, is I took a look at Houston and the rationale for their ranking. And when it came to their front office, they got a higher grade than the Lions, and they also have a first-year guy in there who came from where? New England. Nick Caserio.
Yeah, that always works out.
And part of the write-up was like, well, he did such a good job signing all these players to one-year deals. It's like, what?
That's not hard.
This happened, but it
Spider-Man
not
point.
All right, yeah,
we're pointing fingers all over the place. Yeah,
it's just, I don't know. It's like Chris said. You throw Detroit in front of it, and it kind of has the stink on it that people are just perpetuating. So I don't know. I think of all the hires that happened this offseason, you look at like Caserio in Houston, or even like the Eagles hiring Sirianni. Like, that guy just seems like he's completely in over his head. But you hear almost nothing about it in comparison to Dan Campbell.
Right.
And you're talking about a Philadelphia team, a team that's not too far removed from a Super Bowl, a team that, ostensibly is hitting the reset button because, they traded Carson Wentz and now they're onto the Jalen Hurts era. But like, it's this one soundbite that is just carrying this stink for Dan Campbell. And it's upsetting. And the only thing that's going to put it, I was going to say, the only thing that's going to put it away is the games. Yeah. And unfortunately, who knows with this roster how many games they're going to win, right? So, yeah.
Well,
The thing I hate about it, the one thing I just hate about it is, again, that it's not that, oh, he's a kooky guy. It's that he talked about his kneecaps. That will tell me about his leadership. You don't know jack shit about his leadership.
Right.
You don't.
No.
I'm not being defensive Homer guy here. I know we're doing a Lions podcast, but I would say that for any other guy out there. It bothered me when they did that to Ben McAdoo, too. And I know McAdoo didn't exactly end well for the Giants, but just because someone talks funny or, tries to be funny in a press conference, you're suddenly decrying their leadership? What the hell do you know about their leadership? You don't know jack.
Everybody has to be Bill Belichick.
Right. Well,
goes back to that.
Can we put ESPN's analysis aside and kind of give our own what we think of the Lions' future, like how optimistic we are, or maybe answer some of the like biggest worry, what could change for the better, that sort of stuff. Like, let's start with like biggest worry. Let's start with the negatives. Let's pretend that maybe we have some agreement with ESPN here. And what's your biggest worry about this regime and the direction they're headed so far?
Well, I've got two. I've one that what's in the cupboard right now for the defense is even worse than we think. And it's going to take a lot longer to build that. Mm-hmm. And two is whiffing on a quarterback. Either that people are right and this is a weak year, which I disagree with. I think Spencer Rattler is a good option. I think Matt Corral could be a good option, depending on his growth. Me and Ryan talk constantly about Malik Willis. Jaden Daniels from Arizona State has apparently bulked up to 200 pounds. And if he's at that weight, I am interested in Jaden Daniels because he's got everything you want out of him except for the fact that he was like a stick last year. He's bulked up above 200. I'm going to be watching Arizona State Sun Devils. But you can still miss on a quarterback with all your prep, with all your hype. Just ask the Jets or just ask the Browns or ask the Browns. I mean, the Bears. Yes. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's almost like we got a quarterback list cast coming up, but this is a rough position to get right. And the Lions are going into this without an established quarterback, and you expect them to draft one long-term with the extra draft picks they have, and they can screw it up. And that kills coaches faster than anything else in this league.
I think quarterback is a great place to start about concern for the future. And it's not supposed, I'm not trying to dig on Jared Goff, but this coaching staff believes in Jared Goff. This front office believes in Jared Goff. They passed on a quarterback this year. They made sure he was involved. They wanted a quarterback back in the trade of Matthew Stafford, and all signs point to them believing that he can turn it around. So if that doesn't happen, let's say the Lions pass on a quarterback next year as well, like suddenly we're kicking this can down the road, and the longer it takes for you to find a quarterback, the longer it takes for your rebuild to take hold. So quarterback I think I think I'm with you. That's probably my biggest worry at the moment.
My biggest worry is ownership, and it's not kind of the tried and true, the old and dated take on the Lions will never win a championship as long as the Fords are in control or anything like that. It's just that Sheila Fordham is in this new role. She's in this new position, and everybody is really comfortable with a rebuild or a retool or whatever you want to call it at the beginning. Like when the games aren't being played, when the losses aren't accumulating and totaling up. If this Lions team is really, really bad and they don't give at least 2 seasons for this thing to take root, and Sheila Fordham starts feeling her feet getting taken to the coals, that's where I'm a little bit worried about whether or not she'll make the right decision. And that's just because of her inexperience. And I'm not saying that she's incapable of doing that. I'm just saying that I understand that pressure becomes actual pressure when the standings start to look the way they do when your team isn't so good.
And to kind of expand upon that, the whole front office setup seems like a bit of an experiment, right? Like we talked about it when it first happened. It felt a little bit like too many cooks in the kitchen with Spielman and Dorsey and Ray Agnew, and there's a lot of people in there making a lot of decisions collectively. Yep. And like you said, at the beginning of the rebuild, everyone's great. They're paddling in the same direction. They understand what this is. That no games have been played, so no one's arguing too much over things. There's going to be a little turbulence, and it might be a lot of turbulence in year one. So how that all shakes out is definitely, I think, something to. I don't know if I'm concerned about it yet, but it's something to keep an eye on for sure.
It is something to keep an eye on. And also something to keep an eye on is our quarterbacks list cast. We mentioned quarterbacks enough. We mentioned Jared Goff. I don't think he's showing up on this list. Just going to spoil that right away. But the rest of the top 10, it's coming right now. We're going to close out Listcast in style. We will be right back on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Now, if you're listening on the podcast, we have something interesting there. We have a live read sponsor. Apparently one podcast only, but, we'll work on that.
You should all go listen to that.
Yes.
Real quick, apologize.
If nothing else, for our acting about wives.
Chris is acting about wives. It's I just want to say I apologize for my departure. I locked my family out of my house.
Oh, you're fine.
Oh, jeez.
All good.
They went to go pick up food, and I got 4 text messages in a row, and I was like, oh no, the car broke down, or oh no, something really bad happened. And it was like, you dingus, you locked the front door. And I was like, damn it.
Sounds like we aren't the ones that need the apology there, huh?
Ryan is just, I'm in awe. That's all.
You're in awe of what?
Nothing.
What?
No. Just you locking out your own family. I just like that.
It was an accident.
Okay.
Or was it?
I'm not eating. What are you talking about? Chat.
Wouldn't be the first time people eat on the stream.
I meant to get into it. We kind of took too long, but do you want to kind of continue that conversation a little bit about things that we're actually optimistic about?
Yeah, I know. I kind of got heated as I was reading the Riddick line again and again. And I was just like, I have takes. I know that's bad sports talk radio stuff to react to someone else's opinion and someone else's article, but I'm just tired of this shit around Campbell, man. I'm so tired.
It's pretty dumb. LJ, which one do you want?
And I come up with a lot of dumb shit.
Which one do you want, LJ? Do you want the mozzarella stick one, or the it's time for mozzarella sticks, or what does it say? I'm here for the mozzarella sticks.
I'm here for the mozzarella sticks.
Which one do you want?
Question.
Answer.
How often do you wash those?
Not very often.
Does it smell like mozzarella sticks?
Never. Why would it?
I don't know, because you probably drank a mozzarella milkshake wearing one of them.
Jesus Christ.
I will only wear them both if we get 2 requests for me to wear them. I'm not going to wear them both otherwise.
R. Durenzi asking us, Ryan, where are the ferrets?
The ferret.
Remember from...
Does it show it backwards?
From Jamal Williams?
It does show it
You got ferrets in the closet?
All right. I'll wear it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No ferrets. There's only one ferret on the show.
The purring ferret?
Purring ferret. He likes ferrets. He does like... I wonder if we got to get him, if he wants a ferret as a pet one day.
What if we sent him a ferret?
Let's not. I don't like sending people pets. That's always a bad recipe.
Hey, Jeremy. Put your headphones on.
There you go.
Come on.
Jeremy, I have a great idea.
Oh, shit. All right, which one goes on top? Damn it. What?
He's not even listening to us.
You got an idea? What?
Chris didn't like it, but I said that we should send a live ferret to Jamal Williams.
I don't think he would get it.
Well, he said Ryan has ferrets in the closet. Right. And then we made the connection that I'm the purring ferret. Right.
But
so he's got a thing about
really
ferrets.
Into ferrets. Yeah. It's not a weird thing. It's not a weird thing about ferrets. He just likes ferrets.
He just likes ferrets, okay?
Why are you going all Tim Robinson right now?
Well, because I just watched. You guys finally got me to watch the first few episodes of I Think You Should Leave.
If you give me a bad deal.
Well, here we go. Here's a great question. So one of the guys
popcorn.
Get me on the bingo card here. I had this discussion on a Sunday morning show, the Jason Martin Show. Jason Martin, up until the past week, had not seen the first Godfather movie. He hasn't seen any of the Godfather movies. And it kind of got us into a discussion of what's on your wall of shame that you haven't seen this movie or you haven't watched this TV show that everyone else has gone crazy for. Spoiler alert, I have a terrible track record with literally everything on TV. I haven't seen The Wire. I haven't seen Breaking Bad. I haven't seen Better Call Saul. I haven't seen Game of Thrones. I saw a little bit of Sopranos way back in the day, but that's really... There's probably some other big TV shows I haven't seen.
Whoa, hold on. Do we get to revoke your Italian card for that?
No, I said I've seen some of Sopranos.
Oh, you haven't seen all of it.
I'm not... Yeah, because I didn't have a full HBO. I didn't have ready access to HBO back then, Ryan. You had to actually you had to actually order and get the cable packages that would get you HBO.
Hey, but now you do, so you can go check out Eric Mangini.
But it's so hard. It's harder to go back and catch up on a TV show that you've missed, right? Especially since every episode's an hour long now.
Well, okay, so that's the other thing too, is about like commitment. And it's like commitment to get your foot in the door. I understand, like anybody who hasn't seen The Godfather, it's a 3-hour commitment.
Yeah,
that's a huge
commitment. That's still only 3 hours. Yeah,
but it's in one sitting.
Yes, you can watch the entirety of I Think You Should Leave, and it would be less time than The Godfather.
Yeah. Do you want me to tie it around like a polo shirt?
Lord Goofa, I'm the same with movies. He's never watched Star Wars.
Ooh.
I haven't sat down and watched every Star Wars from start to finish.
I haven't seen Rise of Skywalker, and I probably never will. So,
what are you?
Did
you go all preppy with your mozzarella sticks?
Do you have an ascot?
I have to wear both shirts now. And they didn't want either one covered up, so this is my way of fixing that.
Come on, what's on your wall of shame then? What have you not seen that you probably should have seen?
Oh, I have one. The Big Lebowski.
Ooh,
really? That is a good answer there. That is a good... You would like The Big Lebowski.
See, that's the thing that bothers me so much, is that like if I do have a wall of shame thing, it was the same thing with like the Bo Burnham special, and I told this to Jeremy, like, I dig my heels in, and I'm like, I'm not gonna watch it because everybody's telling me to watch it, and I'm gonna find reasons why I don't like it.
That's me with TV series, man. I call that hipster brain.
Yeah.
Every time there is something big and everyone's just flooding the zone and telling you you'd love it, you hit this point in your brain where you're just like, no, F you guys, I'm not gonna watch it. And if I do watch it, I'll hate it.
Yep, that's good. That's a good way of putting it. Jeremy, what's on your wall of shame?
I'm trying to think. Like I don't have that same phenomenon as you guys, but there are some, like, I feel like sports movies I don't watch at all. I've never seen Rudy. I've never seen Field of Dreams. I've never seen like Hoosiers.
I hate sports movies.
I do too.
They're so melodramatic. I hate them.
Yes.
Have you seen Slapshot though?
I have. See, if it's a comedy,
yes.
it's
now
way
Slapshot.
different.
So I haven't seen Goon, but I have seen Slapshot because I like Paul Newman. Paul Newman is one of the best actors of all time. I love Paul Newman.
Yeah, that movie probably, if I were to watch it now, would not stand up so well.
Not something, I mean, I enjoy it, but I'm never going to repeat a single line from that movie. Let's just say that.
Probably not.
You haven't seen Raging
Bull?
I don't think I've seen the original Rocky.
Ooh, Raging Bull's really good.
Well, I have seen Space Jam, and now I've also seen Space Jam 2, and I wish I hadn't.
Don't say anything because I want to see Space Jam 2.
It's not a spoiler, but can I just say this?
Sure.
I am shocked LeBron James agreed to the script for the first 25 minutes of this movie. Because it makes him look like such an a-hole. And yes, he's been an a-hole. He's been portrayed as an a-hole, but this is like an a-hole father kind of thing. And it's not only that, it's so cartoonishly a-hole in that he might as well be the coach for the villain team in any Mighty Ducks movie. That basketball is his whole life. The only thing that matters is basketball. You've got to, preparation starts off the court, give 120%. It's all there. And even if you take it, that's the starting point for his growth in the movie. It also throws his mother and his high school coach under the bus too, because his mother is portrayed as absent And his high school coach is the one who basically drills him into becoming the Mighty Ducks villain coach.
But no spoilers.
No, that's it. That's the start of the movie. Also, also one spoiler: he throws away a fucking Game Boy within the first couple minutes after one prep talk to from his coach. A Game Boy that his friend just gave him in 1990. I know it's not new in 1998, but like that offended me because that costs money. You could probably resell that secondhand.
Is it an original Game Boy?
Yes.
All right, I'm not watching the movie. That's abuse.
That's where Jeremy's drawing the line.
That's where I draw the line. Everything else is fine.
Yeah.
Having characters from frickin' Clockwork Orange in the crowd, that's okay with me in a kid's movie. Throwing away a classic Game Boy, not okay.
What would you do, Ryan, if your kid watches Space Jam 2, they point to you and it's like, Dad, like, you know, hey, who are those? And it's the Droogs in Clockwork Orange. Like, how do you even explain that to them?
You don't, right? Like, no, just I don't know. You just say I don't know.
Who are those funny men in long underwear and bowler hats?
Bad people.
But what did they do to be bad, Ryan?
They did bad stuff that I hope you never have to see.
Usually that'll end the conversation, right? Kids don't ask more questions.
Yeah, most of the crowd stuff didn't bother me, but there is one line delivered by Foghorn Leghorn vis-a-vis Game of Thrones that is so cringe I nearly shut the movie off.
I would honestly ignore them. If they're like, who's that clown? Like, and they point at Pennywise, I'd be like...
Yeah, Pennywise is there, yeah.
Be like, I don't know, just somebody watching the game. Somebody checking out the game.
Drank too much milk. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, why? Yeah, wait, why are they bad guys? Because they drank too much milk. And that's bad for the environment because it was cow milk.
Oh yeah. Is that are you in an almond milk or a soy milk or a oat milk?
I am a soy boy.
I still do cow milk, but I do like some almond milk. The movie was meant to me. The thing that got me when the first one, MJ was a bad actor, but in this one, LeBron was a bad actor, and everyone else in the movie might have just been just as bad. So yeah, no, I went back and saw the first Space Jam. The soundtrack in that movie still fucking slaps, and I think that's what made me like the first one. Is like because you get that start where it's scored to R. Kelly, I Believe I Can Fly. And his father ends the scene by he's like, "Oh, you want to play basketball and baseball, huh? I guess you want to fly next." And it's like superimposing to the Air Jordan moment. That's like cool. I don't know. They also like gave you all of like 30 minutes of 2D animation, and then the basketball game itself is an hour of CGI just garbage.
We're really breaking down a kids movie right now. What are we, Skip Bayless?
It's not a kids movie.
Yes,
it's not.
It is. What?
No, it is. So no. It is a movie for kids who were in the 90s to get nostalgia tripped to then show that movie to their kids now.
Okay. Yes. So it's
that is its main selling point.
Yeah, but there was nothing that would please these parents because Space Jam the original. Sorry, it sucks. It sucks.
No, it doesn't. No, it was good.
It sucks.
It's fine. It's
Everyone
totally
thinks
fine.
it was great because it's nostalgia.
It breathed. Right? It breathed properly. No. Is Bill Murray in Space Jam 2? No, he's not.
Does he do
lost opportunity?
Does he do anything noteworthy in Space Jam 1?
Yeah, he keeps asking people if he keeps asking Larry Bird and Michael Jordan if he can play in the NBA because all the NBA players are getting sick because their powers are being stolen.
That's me slapping my knee. Good old Bill Murray fun. Asking players questions.
Did you guys see Skip Bayless's tweet about Space Jam?
I did. No. I did.
Like,
oh yeah, I did.
He tweeted, where he's like, Space Jam, a stained legacy.
He is the best at what he does. It's a foul thing he does, but he's the best at it. Let me pull up the full tweet because it is some work of art.
You know what? I would feel more comfortable explaining the Droogs to my kids than I would explaining Skip Bayless.
Tonight, I'm going to watch Space Jam, A Stained Legacy to see if the onslaught of shockingly negative reviews is possibly wrong. Could LeBron's version of this classic really be as bad as his meltdown in the 2011 finals? I tried to warn him, all caps here, Do not try to be or beat MJ. Hashtag Legon.
He called Space Jam a classic.
Yeah, I'm not there with that.
He called Space Jam a classic.
I was joking to someone else, to a producer friend of mine, that someone this week was going to come up with the takes that Michael is now better than, Jordan is now better than LeBron because the first Space Jam was better than Space Jam 2. But I didn't think anyone would ever be serious. Little did I underestimated Skip Bayless. I underestimated Skip Bayless.
Yeah, never underestimate him. Also, can we just, like, I saw this today. I forget. I think it's on the show that Nick Wright does or whatever. But
yeah,
why does every single conversation, especially in basketball, like I notice it in basketball Twitter most obviously and most like prevalently, but why does every discussion become legacy rank? Like,
because we're bored with these. Because we're just bored. Like, they're bored with the present. It's weird, man.
It's super weird. You can't even enjoy the NBA Finals because they're trying to sell you on Giannis could possibly be greater than LeBron at 26 than LeBron was.
And during
26.
every offseason.
So insane.
Every offseason too, right? It's like, oh, this guy really needs a ring to cement his legacy, or else I don't really know if I could. And already, like, the series isn't even over, and people are already saying, oh, I don't know, Chris Paul dropping 3 games proves he's not one of the top 5 point guards of all time, actually. And he's got a stain on his legacy. I'm like, the series isn't over yet, guys. Like, I think it will. I think the Bucks are pulling this one out, but I don't think it's also making me downgrade Chris Paul because he's banged up and old in these playoffs.
It's just annoying. Like,
yeah,
if I don't know,
this is why I hate GOAT discussions, man. It's just a waste.
Yeah, it happens.
We can't appreciate everyone for just who they are. They need to rank up to everybody, and basketball's the worst offender, but it happens everywhere. I mean, like, how many times do we have to have the Tom Brady GOAT discussion?
Well, I think at that point, Tom Brady's just won it at this point. But we also only do it with quarterbacks in the NFL, and thankfully, I think the pool for quarterbacks in GOAT discussion is a lot smaller because we do it with, as Ryan said, we do it with like everyone in the NBA. First, it was Kevin Durant. Then we were doing it. First it was LeBron James. Then we started doing it with Kevin Durant. Now we're doing it with Giannis. We're doing it with like a guy moves around, James Harden, Chris Paul. Like, there are so many guys we do it with in the NBA. I feel like the NFL, like, we maybe do that with like 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah. It's so loud with the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe every now and then we'll get something like, oh, Calvin Johnson needs to go to the Patriots and win a ring to secure his legacy. But then we were just like, that's a stupid take, and we just throw it out the window.
Yeah. I wonder, you really think about, I guess if we can have a quick discussion about the current crop of quarterbacks that could...
Sure,
that people could even start to enter into that conversation. And I think everybody's so far away. And maybe it was just so hyper-focused while there were guys like Brady and Manning and Breeze.
Well, here, real quick, I do want to say that we did get a list cast impromptu. We'll get to that in a second. I just wanted to let you guys say that, to like put that in everyone's ears so we don't forget that. So yeah, you were right. We had that Brady, Manning, Breeze kind of stalemate for a long time, and that's kind of finally broken. And I feel like Tom Brady won that.
Yeah, Jeremy Reisman, though, big Peyton Manning guy.
We're doing some of that with We're doing some of that with Aaron Rodgers now, but I feel like the end of his career is just not going to do him favors.
Yeah, well, I think the thing with Rodgers is only climbing the mountain once. God damn it, we're doing it right now. What are we doing?
Yep.
Stop.
Well, I feel like you've got the clear successor, right? Patrick Mahomes.
See, we're doing it again, though, because we're trying to anoint somebody.
Yeah, but we only do it with quarterbacks. I feel like that's but I feel like, it's this too. We seem to hate when we do it, but we keep falling into the trap. Whereas for the NBA, they just, that's what they do.
That's how it's done. Like that. Like if you're not doing that, then you're not getting noticed.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into the list cast, I have so many alerts that I need to catch up on that I mean 40 minutes worth. So let me do that real quick.
Yeah, sure. While I work on How Am I Not Myself's listcast request.
That's not what it was. Was it? Were there two? Because I saw one that was ranking.
No,
the
Uncle Indigo just he didn't redeem the points though.
Yeah. No. Okay. So yeah.
He just highlighted his message.
Okay. Really quick, Katie, thank you for the 10 months. Says hi, everybody. Uncle Indigo with the 15 total months says hi to the chat. Donkey Kong Jr. with the 15 months as well says was just watching the cornerback listcast, and now the live show is here. The dream. Then Katie came in with the 200 bits. Cordy Aaron with the 21 months says time for some Kool-Aid. Lines 8 and 9. Woo! Yeah, Detroit comes in with 23 months. LJ, 100 bits. Ice Cecil with the 2 months, tier 2. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate our tier 2 and tier 3 subscribers. Joshua came in after that with the 13 months. That's over a year now. Let's go. Lion in London, 11 months. CJ Craig, 16 months. Time flies. And Thano TV, using that Twitch Prime, 3 months. It's crazy to me how many people are over a year now. Just this alone, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I think, with at least 10 months subscribed to the channel already. Love seeing that. Love seeing the people that come back month to month. Golf clap.
Stupendous stuff.
Stupendous.
All right. Do we want to list cast the worst Twitter categories?
Yeah, and I think I can go way out in left field on these. So.
Oh yeah,
mine might be
Chris's
pretty
list
scary.
is going to be really weird.
He listed 4. We could go beyond. I suppose you can go beyond that if you want. He listed NBA, NFL, politics, and media.
One for a bullet. The one Twitter you should never step into is young adult lit. Never go with young adult lit Twitter.
My question is, how did you find young adult lit?
Sometimes people screenshot. No. Some people, I follow people who screenshot the drama that comes from there. It is people shrieking death upon other writers nonstop, using I'm dead serious. People use their fandoms to attack other writers. These are psychotic people who write these novels. Just utterly psycho, 30, 40-year-old women at home who have way too much money, who have just decided that they just want to be mean girls nonstop and are just attacking everyone. Remember there was that one woman at a university who said young adult novels Harry Potter, they're cool, but they're not actual real literature. And you had 30 fucking YA writers come in and call her a misogynist and drove her forced her to make the university make her apologize. They're evil people.
I think
I
think young adults in general are, because they're very opinionated and stupid at the same time.
Well, it's not even young. It's not even young adults. It's adult fans of young adult literature. It's so it's Arrested Development adults too.
Right.
Number 2 is go on.
I was just going to say real quick, that's one of the it's one of the murky areas of being an English teacher in high school, is that there's almost this push, every single opportunity I have for professional development, it seems like it's always focused and geared towards especially with English, it's how can you incorporate young adult novels into your curriculum? And I'm I don't want to do that. Absolutely not.
Half the writers too also try to cancel traditional course stuff. It's how dare you read Catcher in the Rye? That's problematic. That's problematic. That's doing a racism. That's doing a sexism. That's doing a not growth.
Well, there was literally, so one of the developments that I went to, their whole spiel was, how can you replace canonical literature with these other young adult novels that do the same exact thing as these other novels? I was if they did the same exact thing, they would be replacing them. But there's this in English circles, it's oh yeah, over summer break, what young adult novels did you read? And I was I read 0 because I'm not interested. I don't know, it just doesn't I don't know. I want to foster reading, but like I think with so many teachers, it's so prescriptivist where they're like, well, you have to be reading a novel in order to be reading. It's like, no, like you can. What if a kid's reading? What if he's got a subscription to The Athletic and he's reading articles? Like it's still reading. Like
Yeah, I just also too most YA lit is just it's not deep. I'm sorry. Like I'm tired of it's another story about, some teen without their parents, rising up against a dystopian society. Like that's all of them.
so Batman. QWERTY Aaron says, to be fair, Catcher in the Rye is mid, anyways.
Kinda, but the point is like we all go through the same book though, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
there's that. I mean, although granted, I know what you mean because I think for my AP English we actually got to like pick out a bunch of movies in high school, and I think I ended up watching The Deer Hunter over summer.
I'm gonna clip this whole rant about young adult literature
Please
and
don't.
send it to J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, she can fuck off. Turf.
I was gonna say it's never a
yeah.
good thing. Sometimes it's never a good thing. Sometimes it's not a good idea generally to have students just pick whatever they want to read, because when I was a senior in high school, I was like, oh, I was all obsessed with Christian Bale because I was into Batman and superheroes. So I read American Psycho.
I would have picked a manga. I would have brought in Trigun.
But see, my English teacher would have been like, "That's a comic book."
Yeah. Now graphic novels are literature, are high art or whatever. Number 2 on this list, by the way, is K-pop Twitter.
They're powerful. I don't know if they're bad.
They're very powerful.
They are powerful.
They will ruin. Yeah. Well,
And I only say that because I don't want them getting on me. You guys are fine. You guys are great.
Number 3, I'm just pissing off everyone. Number 3 is furry Twitter. Although shout out to the guy who got paid by the Australian government to make personas for the Olympics. Got paid big money.
Jeremy, I think we can both agree that none of Chris's top 3 would have been on our list, right?
Correct. I mean, I don't think I've dipped a toe into any of those things.
Okay.
None.
Well, I think I might get closer to where you guys are now. Number 4 is like comic book movie blog Twitter.
That's pretty bad.
Like 80% of their posts are just like, oh, Martin Scorsese doesn't think this is art, and it's a still from Thor Ragnarok. Like, yes, QWERTY, I should post it. Yeah, it's anthropomorphic like kangaroos and koalas and stuff, but it's done in that like persona anime anthropomorphic Beastars art style. Okay, so where I'm at, furries, Marvel. I feel like going along with YA novels is kind of Western animation stands, like Steven Universe fans. I used to be able to say Homestuck is here, but nobody knows what Homestuck is anymore. Yeah, I haven't even gotten to politics Twitter or conspiracy theory Twitter. That's how bad that's how bad I know the depths of Twitter to be.
All right, Chris is obviously operating in corners of Twitter that Jeremy and I wouldn't even dump a puck into to dump and chase. So, Jeremy, what is your list?
Well, yeah, I think I have to deal with corners of Twitter that I'm familiar with, that I'm just annoyed with, and
yeah, that's fair.
I guess politics Twitter is up there to a point where it's just like if I post anything political, I'm immediately turning off mentions, and it's not because I don't want to hear the other side, which is always some, if you block or mute someone, that's always what they say is, you're so open-minded, huh? No, you just can't have a nuanced discussion on Twitter. If you want to come have a beer with me and discuss politics, great. But sometimes I use my Twitter as a little bit of venting about politics, and it's never been a positive reaction that follows. I think I'm only going to do 3 here, so let's call that 3. let's call to ranking Twitter in general, just ranking things. You know what? No, I'm changing it. It's like I made a tweet about it the other day.
You're just doing post formats.
Yeah,
take you one
Yes.
can't go. You have to leave one.
Yes, though that Twitter I freaking hate. It's stupid. One has to go.
That's the term. Yeah,
no, one's got no. Screw you. I can keep them all. I can eat any candy bar I want. I don't have to erase Snickers from existence or anything.
But Jeremy, how are you gonna build the best lineup with only $15?
Yeah, no, fuck those two. Like, who cares?
I think I shared with
It's
Ryan
just
one
fantasy.
time to build the best BLT you could, but it was deliberately set up so you can't actually
Have all the
buy
ingredients
for a BLT in 15.
Yeah.
Number one with the bullet is draft Twitter. NFL draft Twitter is the worst. Everyone is so sure of their own scouting skills. Everyone is so sure on the day of the draft that their team either blew it or is the smartest team in the world. Draft Twitter is stupid. Let's talk about the draft 3 years after it happens and not talk about it anytime else.
By the way, coming up after this, I think Ryan and I did want to talk about potential quarterbacks, but one has to go. Chris, Jeremy, or Ryan. That's an easy one to me. That's so easy.
I was gonna say, Jeremy, is it just because you don't operate in those circles, or is it because you're just more in tune with draft Twitter because of your role at the site? But like, what about recruiting Twitter? Do you just not even engage with it?
Recruiting is so gross and ugly to me.
That's horrifying.
I've never been interested in it as a college football fan. I don't know. It's all murky and gross and dealing with 16 and 17-year-olds and getting emotional over that. And yeah, I mean, obviously like things like harassing athletes for performing bad Twitter is horrible. But again, that's not something I really deal with much. Like those people are disgusting people.
Yeah.
Real quick before Ryan gets his in, I forgot about hustle culture Twitter.
Hashtag rise and grind.
Yeah, the rise. Like there are some great accounts that mostly because it's not on Twitter, it's on like Instagram or LinkedIn. That's where you see the worst offenders. I just want to take a couple from chat though. Conspiracy theory Twitter. I mean, yeah, I could see that. Where was Zero Dark for? Hip hop Twitter is a daily siege. I'm not on hip hop Twitter. I don't know if Ryan can speak to that. But the one that speaks to me is LJ Baroff mentioned food Twitter. And I could there's no let me put it this way. First off, there's no good way to take a picture of your food to put it on social media, but also like all of the food press, like everything. I know they're part of the Vox umbrella, but everything Eater publishes, like I see an Eater headline and I'm like, why do you Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it bothers me at all.
Yeah. We do. I do like dunking on bad barbecue, though. But I think that's it. It's something everyone can get into.
I think everybody enjoys that. Real quick, I'll do my list. Number one is NBA Twitter. It's awful because every time I click on an Adam Schefter tweet, the first reply is always LeBron, and it'll be a football tweet.
A Schefter tweet?
Yeah, Schefter tweets always have LeBron replies. Always. Either that or, hold on, ratio Twitter sucks too.
Yes, I was going to say, like, what's this thing with everyone just saying ratio after every tweet?
But you guys are doing replies. I'm doing
kids.
like areas of Twitter. But
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to say number one is NBA Twitter because everybody, like as soon as the Pistons got the first pick, everybody starts dumping on Detroit, and they're like, "Oh, Kane doesn't want to go to Detroit. Detroit's
what can Oklahoma City Thunder? They've got the picks to trade up to 1.
Yeah, or Damian Lillard becomes available, and they're like, "How is he going to end up on the Lakers? They're going to trade KCP and Dennis Schroeder and get one of the best point guards in the NBA."
Subset of this, and this is starting to infect sports talk radio as well, is draft machine conversations too. It's like, here, I came up with this, I can get this through Trade Machine, and I'm going to receive Damian Lillard, and you're going to receive a steaming pile of crap plus some draft picks. Like, that's a fair trade. I'm like, hold up. Like everyone who's like, oh yeah, Damian Lillard for Ben Simmons. I'm like, you considered that maybe Portland doesn't fucking want Ben Simmons. They see this shit.
Yeah, it's terrible. Number 2 is hip hop Twitter. Hip hop Twitter is really bad because everything is about comparisons, and I don't think those people realize that compliments by comparison aren't actual compliments. And everything is, I think that's where a lot of, at least I get it, but I think it's a lot of it's either trash or it's incredible. And there's no in between. There's no nuance. There's no
Twitter,
like
though.
shit. I know that is Twitter at large, but like with hip hop Twitter, like it drives me nuts because an album will drop and 10 minutes later it's either trash or it's incredible. And like it's like you haven't listened to 2 songs. It's insane. But number 1, NBA Twitter, 2, hip hop Twitter, and the third for the Twitter that I interact with is I don't know, the third one's kind of tough.
Can I give you an answer for you that should be your number 1?
I see one from John. I see one from John that I really agree with.
Ryan's number 1, whether he admits it or not, is Dan Orlovsky Twitter.
I blocked him.
Hold the Band-Aid off.
I blocked him after the chip thing.
It's not. I mean, it's horrible food takes. It's like pseudo inspirational, crappy quotes. And now it's hot sports takes. Like 3 years ago, Dan Orlovsky Twitter was great. Like he was just like he had his phone in front of NFL films thing and broke down what we saw and actually provided good analysis. And then ever since ESPN hooked him into whatever loud talking show he's on now, he's become he just leans into this weird personality that's like, I don't know, it's like he's Kenneth the Page but dumber.
I know one more I can add to Ryan's list, and I'm curious on his thoughts. Pro wrestling Twitter.
Pro wrestling Twitter, it gets kind of weird because there's horny pro wrestling Twitter, and then there are marks. I don't know.
Let's go with people who think they can book better than WWE Twitter.
Oh yeah, that's annoying.
You just wanted to sneak
That's
in some
annoying.
wrestling talk.
Yeah. John says worst Twitter brand Twitter. I think he's got a case there. But we're also trying to woo some over so they can sponsor the POD cast.
I would say brands on holidays Twitter.
Like every time I see Steakums tweet, it's just the most painful shit, man. Netflix does it too, where they have these long Twitter threads where they're like trying to talk about how this was problematic in the past and we're doing things right now. It's like, shut up. I'm just here to watch something on your streaming service.
I'm so rattled right now because Jeremy had me totally flip my list. Number 1 is Dan Orlovsky Twitter. Number 2, NBA, and 3 is hip hop.
Yeah, no, LJ, you can go ahead and cross it off the bingo card. We have had a very long part 1 break.
You almost said it. You almost said
it, but you didn't.
Say it. I didn't say the name. Almost did.
Should we list cast? Because I am ready.
I do not follow this. How dare you? I do not follow the Steakums Twitter account.
I don't know if Dan Pask is still here. He also did request a list cast, but I don't think I ever got a top. Oh wait, I wanted to ask for the next break, top 5 wrong yellow flags thrown on the Lions.
Oh God.
So keep that in the back of your mind for next segment. And then also I want to say, Yonkers, thank you for the 6 months. Appreciate that. 6 months.
Okay.
Half year.
I'm depressed thinking about that list cast coming up. But let's get to the actual list cast.
Okay. Bye, chat.
And it's time for the list cast. It's time for LISTCAST. I almost forgot how to spell list cast. Almost did it with a K. List cast would be cool. But anyway, this is the final one of our positional ones. It is the end of a journey. It means the offseason is almost over. And thank God, because I'm about to go insane. We saved quarterbacks for last because we haven't driven ourselves insane. And during our break, we were talking about how quarterback is a position that lends itself to histrionics, to overanalysis, to hot takery to getting out in front of your skis. And guess what? All of that is here in this edition of Listcast. So as always, we let you guys know that we are looking at players at this point in their career for this upcoming season alone. Selections are made independent of scheme, current weapons, and coaching. It has been assembled by multiple members of the Pride of Detroit staff, and we are giving you the aggregate rankings. And unfortunately, Jeremy, there's been some scub in this one for multiple places, but we'll get to that, I think, a little later in the Listcast and explain maybe some of the quirks of what happened here, because there was a little bit of miscommunication, at least on one guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are a couple of quarterbacks that are keeping their 2021 season in limbo currently, and it's hard to know where to put them on this list and whether they're eligible and all that sort of stuff. So we just kind of let anyone pick out however they wanted to interpret the list.
We don't question your list cast. We don't question your list cast. I don't question why Jeremy had Kirk Cousins 10 on his list.
Should I have put him higher?
Yeah.
I mean, he has one of the best completion percentage over average or over expectations in the past.
He's trying to get
years.
me on completion percentage.
PFF, top 10 grade past 3 or 4 years. I mean, if you guys want to continue to hate on him, that's fine. Like I understand he's had a running game and I understand he's had some pretty good receivers, but he's also done everything that he's really been asked for except win the big game. He hasn't won the big game. He doesn't win a Monday night. Great. You know who also gets that criticism a lot? The guy that's number 7 on our list. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you who that is, but you guys might be familiar with him. I'm spoiling our list.
Why'd you spoil it? Why'd you do that?
I don't care.
Why'd you do that?
You want to come at me, Kirk Cousins? I'm going to spoil the whole damn list.
No, I was going to get to everyone. I was going to include myself for having Daniel Jones at 10. And I was going to get at the worst offender of all, Mike Payton, having Jared Goff at 10. So bad that he wanted to come on this podcast to defend the selection of Jared Goff on the podcast. And I was like, no, there is no defense for that. There is none.
Do you want to talk about Daniel Jones, who you put 8 on your list or 9 on your list?
Did I put him 8? I could have been
9.
drunk.
You put him 9.
I put him 9. Yeah, over Ryan Tannehill. I think he's a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill. There, bam.
Okay, but Tannehill didn't make our list. He was on my list, but he didn't make the list. Why is Daniel Jones on your list? Tell me why Daniel Jones was on your list.
Because I think Daniel Jones has shown you nothing but upwards growth every year, and you guys keep mocking him for falling over on that play. But guess what? He is a exceptional deep threat in this league now.
You had me at Daniel Jones has shown me nothing. That I agree with.
This is what, for those not watching on the visual medium, I am now giving the finger to Jeremy Reisman. You have 2 guesses which finger.
I have to interject, and I just have to say that all of the quarterbacks we're talking about, we're having a super, super mayo discussion. Like, these quarterbacks are all just mayonnaise. Like,
but they're not
okay, but it's not the best part of the sandwich. Like,
are you just calling
Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins? No, this isn't
racist.
We're having a discussion about a bunch of guys who aren't the best parts of their offense. Like, Kirk Cousins, like, sure. I mean, let me see that average depth of target when it comes to him. Like, that completion percentage sure is nice, but, like, come on, it's Dalvin Cook. He's the meat on that sandwich. Like, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry's the meat on that sandwich. Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones. I don't know. I just have to say that about Daniel Jones.
There is also several quirks to my list, and I'm dreading getting to one of them eventually. But number 10 is a guy who was not on my list, but I think everyone's kind of expecting a bounce back season from him. The scub's out of the way. The injury's out of the way. You hope he's going to see the field. Everyone's rooting for him so damn hard down there. He's your star of Hard Knocks, Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys, number 10 on the Pride of Detroit quarterback list cast.
Speaking of Mayo, real quick, how boring is Dak Prescott going to be on Hard Knocks? Dak Prescott just seems like a super boring person. And here's the thing. I'm rooting for him. Obviously, I have something built into it. Like, seeing that awful, awful ankle injury that he had, so bad. That's part of the reason why I have him at 10, and it was pretty close for him to not even make my list altogether because I'm really worried about how he bounces back from that injury. For a guy who his game really relies on the ability, we talked about it on our Green Room podcast, Jeremy, but for a guy who needs to ad lib and extend plays and make things happen after things kind of break down, for a guy who suffered an injury like that, Dak Prescott, I hope that he bounces back. I hope that he's healthy, but he's going to need that in order to be mobile and in order to be effective.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, like, I guess the pause for that, but every single thing that we've heard about his rehab is, he's ahead of schedule and going to have full mobility and all that sort of stuff, and obviously there's a mental aspect to it too, right? And that's something that you just kind of have to wait and see how it happens. But there's no question in my mind that he was a top 10 quarterback, and I'm not going to bet against him that will continue. He's basically been one of PFF's top quarterbacks in his young 4.5-year career, at least in half of those years. In terms of statistics, he's had a couple bad interception seasons. He's a little interception prone, but when we're talking about the bottom guys in these top 10, I think that's a common thing. And to me, he's just like, he's a leader. He's a guy who can win games for you. He's a guy with a heck of an arm, and the mobility is huge. I mean, it's just a part of the game today, and if you don't have it, you're missing a key part of the game. You just are. That's given how agile defenses has been and how sick pass rushes are these days. You need to have a little mobility in you, or you need to be Tom Brady. Like you have to be one or the other. And some of these guys on this list doesn't have what Dak has, and I think he's going to have that even after this injury.
Yep. Number 9, new to our list and rising pretty quickly, although off lists for a couple people, Arizona Cardinals Kyler Murray, who I don't know if we talked about it last week, but I feel like Kyler Murray is almost my dark horse sleeper for MVP this season. If he puts it together, I'm not saying he should be like high up on the list. I forget where I think I had him 7th on my list, in front of Baker Mayfield. The bottom of my list is abominable. But
at least you can admit it.
I can admit it. I'm like, I didn't put this together right. But listen, Kyler Murray, he's shown you the flashes you really want, and he's entering into this key year where I feel like he has that arm and he has all of those tools available to him to make that next step. He's going to play in a tough division, but I'm not supposed to take that into account. Like, yeah, the Cardinals, I don't think anyone's projecting them to be the favorites to win the NFC West, but I feel like for the third year, he showed you astronomical growth in his second year, and I guess I'm projecting upwards for the third year.
Kyler Murray's not on my list. I don't think he's particularly close to my top 10, to be completely honest. He's a phenomenal athlete. He's a thrill to watch. Dude had 819 rushing yards last year. I don't think he's a good passer. I don't think he goes through his progressions well. I think a guy that throws 3 interceptions against a Matt Patricia-led Lions defense is banned from the list. He doesn't deserve to be on the list. Like, that alone is qualifications to kick him off the list permanently. I don't care if he has an MVP season. He's not on my list next year because he threw 3 interceptions against the Lions in Week 3 in 2020. That is unacceptable. That is ridiculous. But it does speak, like, Ryan, you were talking about, like, players that the offense was centered around. I don't think Kyler Murray is necessarily that guy, at least not in the passing game. Like, again, he's a rushing threat, and I don't want to ignore that. I just talked about how important that is in today's NFL, but I think he's got a ton to prove as a passer, and he's nowhere near it to really be in consideration right now.
Yeah, he definitely has room for growth when it comes to his ability as a passer. I think that he can do it. I think the things that people have kind of pegged him as being incapable of doing, or things that he would have to overcome in the NFL, like him being so short and batted balls at the line of scrimmage. Like, he wasn't even in the top, like, 15 of quarterbacks last season when it came to batted balls. I think he is the straw that stirs the drink in Arizona. I mean, he's loaded with talent at wide receiver. Like, there's no question. And I know that we're doing this independent of everything else, but I think I think that he's just a gamer. Like, I think that he can go out there and he can make plays when he has to make plays. Like, I mean, the Hail Mary to DeAndre Hopkins is being like an example. Like, that play gets extended because it's Kyler Murray.
Sure.
And that's where my affinity for him comes in. I think that he, like Jeremy said, I think you put it really well. Either you have to be Tom Brady or you have to be a guy who can extend plays. And I think Kyler Murray fits that mold. And I think that this year he's going to really prove himself as being worthy of a top 10 quarterback.
Number 8 on our list, we do have to explain. Number 8 is Deshaun Watson. Now, we do have to explain because half of our team did not put Deshaun Watson on their list, including myself and Jeremy
and Ryan.
And Ryan. So the three of us did not put him on their list. And I think one other person didn't put it on the list. Who was the other person? Was it Mike Payton didn't put him on their list. But we got wires crossed because I think half the people did put him on the list. We didn't. I think we had agreed among ourselves. We just don't think he's going to play this year.
Right. Yeah, and like we said,
either the legal trouble or whatever is going to happen with the Texans.
Right.
It's a double-decker sandwich of hell that just doesn't point to him playing this year.
And to be clear, everyone else that did decide to put him on their list had him in the top 5. So that's why he's 8 here, is because their top 5-ery kind of, were enough to push him into the top 10 there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone can really question Deshaun Watson's talent. He also had some questions about, passing the ball earlier in his career, and I think he's answered a lot of those. But yeah, at this point, my projection here is just like, do I think this player is going, because there's another quarterback on this list that we're not sure if he's going to play in 2020 or not. The reason why he was on my list and Deshaun Watson was not is because I think the other guy will play. This guy I don't think won't play. And so that's why he was off my list.
Yeah, I have the double whammy of there's no way out of his legal troubles at this point. And I'm just not going to be able to take that. Given my background, I can't put that aside. I just can't. And you can call me unfair about that. I can tell you shove off. It's my list. There's way too many women that have come forward for me to doubt a single moment of it. And even then, we're still waiting to see what the commissioner does if they come down with the hammer. And even then, if all that somehow clears up, he told you before all this bleep hit the fan that he was no way, no how am I playing for the Houston Texans. So that's 3 layers I've got to cut through before I even think about what Deshaun Watson could be in 2021.
Yeah. And I mean, this is for a guy who in the 2020 season, I mean, if it was based on play alone, he'd be like a top 3 quarterback, but you can't ignore all of those red flags. And like Chris said, this was a guy who said he wasn't going to play in Houston, and Houston was digging their heels in and saying like they weren't going to trade him. So like, how do you think this was going to end? Like, yeah, he wasn't on my list, but that's just because, like you guys, I don't think that he's going to play this season. So he kind of got Hunter Henry.
a talent alone, I would have probably had him like, I don't know.
I would have put him in my top 3.
I would have said top 5.
Yeah, he probably would have been my 4.
He would have been probably my 5. Yeah. Number 7 is an old friend, someone who we've argued back and forth whether he belongs in the top 5 quite a bit this year. And as we talked about last podcast, got a little bit more press from the national media because of his new landing spot. However, this is supposed to be independent of scheme or coaching or weapons. So Matthew Stafford, formerly of the Detroit Lions, comes in at number 7.
I mean, this is about where I've had him for the past 5-10 years, I feel like, and it just feels like a comfortable spot for him. He doesn't necessarily have the mobility of a lot of those other guys, but that's something that he's also improved upon, I think, almost every year of his career is managing the pocket and creating a little bit more extra time. But I mean, we don't need to get deep into Matthew Stafford. I think we all know who Matthew Stafford is. He's got a cannon arm. He can make throws to receivers that aren't open that I would say 80%, maybe 90% of the league can't make. And I'm excited to see what he can do with a full team around him.
The only concern I have, once again, is at this point, and again, I don't like doing injury prone or anything. I'm not saying that. He troops through all of that. But man, if he doesn't get better protected, like at some point he's gotten banged up quite a bit in his career. And you wonder, as you keep adding years and more injuries on top of that, you've seen that story before with other quarterbacks who get banged up and they start getting later in their career, and you just wonder if you can get the full season of productivity out of him.
Yeah, I had Stafford at 7 on my list too, and I guess I'll ask you guys a question that kind of popped into my mind as I was putting together my list. But do you think that there's going to be a rough adjustment period for Stafford?
I mean,
probably.
I don't think there should be. I mean, is it? What do you think? Like that? Is that a scheme thing? Is that just being in a new place with a new practice regimen, that sort of thing, or?
Yes.
All the above.
Both those things. Yeah, all those things. Yeah.
There shouldn't be. Dude's a 12-year veteran. You'd think, and even if you were in the same place in 12 years, obviously there's going to be an adjustment there. But I mean, the Rams certainly aren't expecting any sort of acclimation period. They paid for a guy that's gonna light the world on fire in week 1, and I think he's capable of that.
And he went there very early in the offseason too. He's had plenty of time to learn that system too.
Yep.
Maybe not with the players themselves, but like at least from like studying the film, looking at the notebooks and everything. Yeah.
Plus, I mean, you've been around 12 years. You know plays. You know every play in everyone's book. It just might be a different language. Like that's it.
Sure, and I think I'm more so with you guys than not, just because I think back to all of the different probably terminology that Stafford had to learn even when he was in Detroit, whether or not it was Jim Schwartz, Jim Caldwell, moving on through different offensive coordinators and things like that. So, like you said, Jeremy, I think a 12-year vet, that guy's going to be ready right out of the box. So, but I just want to take a quick second to say that Justin Herbert didn't make the list, and that's an affront to society. But carry on.
Crown him after a year.
I should have probably put him instead of Daniel Jones.
I think all the credit goes to Anthony Lynn personally.
Oh, okay, great point.
Really? Listen to you.
That's definitely not a homer take. That's definitely me being a fair and balanced.
Man, it's hard. It's his sophomore. It's his like second year in the NFL. Really, like I don't know what to think of that. Like, it's volatile.
I'm just saying if the guy goes out and does it again, I mean, for somebody who had as few like. In terms of the supporting cast, like losing Austin Eckler and, doing the things that he did with, being a rookie quarterback and then moving on to a new coach and Brandon Staley and all the things that that's going to entail. Like if he does it again for a second season in a row and he doesn't end up in the top 10 list, I'm coming to your guys' house.
You might come to my house for this, but we do have Lamar Jackson at number 6 to round out our bottom 5. Baltimore Ravens guy. Again, we're not supposed to look at scheme, so he's getting the big news of the offseason was they got a new weapon, which again, we can't consider that, but Lamar Jackson, great ground game.
I feel like Lamar Jackson's getting a lot of negativity after last year, and I realize it was worse than his previous year, but his previous year was an MVP season. I mean, let's chill. Like, this dude is still fantastic, still phenomenal, and he's every bit as mobile as Kyler Murray, but he's proven to do it over a long period of time. I think he's a better passer than Kyler Murray, and I mean, I don't know how you can't have this guy in your top 10. This guy is a game changer. This guy, I mean, the reason why Baltimore's offense is surrounded around the running game is because he makes the running game a lot better. A lot better. That's it. I mean, yeah. I don't know how you can't defend the 2019 MVP of the season of the league.
Yeah, I'm just interested to hear what Chris has to say because Lamar Jackson was not on his list at all. And the only thing that I'll say about Lamar Jackson is obviously what Jeremy said, like, there's going to be some regression. Like, the guy's coming off an MVP season. If he did it again, there's no reason to not put him like in the top 3. But I think that this is going to be, I'm going to say this, I think it's kind of a make or break year for Lamar Jackson. And I think that kind of segues nicely into what Chris has to say about him.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for teeing that up, Ryan, instead of being passive aggressive and not even mentioning my name like Jeremy just did. Yes, my list is terrible. I realize that. I realize I am on a skid of bad takes here, but Ryan said it just right. It's make or break season, and I am trying to look and think what he's going to be in 2021. And I'm not saying people are going to figure out Lamar Jackson, but we see these dips in his performance mid-season that we saw last year that I'm kind of worried about sometimes. I think, what was it? I just had this up. Hold on. Like his completion percentage, it dropped several points in the middle of the season. I think it went from 66% to like 63%, but like his QBR dropped from, again, this was in December. He had started the year something like 82 to down to like 61.9.
Okay, QBR, not passer rating. Is that...
QBR, yes. Okay. Did I say passer?
Sure.
I meant QBR.
Yeah.
Okay. Like he doesn't I don't again, but the big thing that we've used to talk about the growth of Lamar Jackson, I mentioned at the start, is that the Ravens got him a good weapon to throw to. And this is supposed to be independent of that. And we've known for a while Lamar Jackson just not as great of a thrower as some other quarterbacks out there. And I'm not. How do I do this? How do I say that I am worried about defenses scheming better for his best weapons without saying that he's one-dimensional or without saying that teams are figuring him out? I just think they'll be able to do better in defending against the weapons that Lamar Jackson really shines on when he can't get the ball down the field. It's a risk, and it's a hard risk, and it's one that makes it volatile for me.
The tricky part with talking about his passing game is you mentioned like he's got some weapons this year, so but we can't factor that in. But at the same time, can we talk about how he didn't have any weapons?
Yeah,
at receiver
that's true.
Last year,
that's true. For me, I look at those mid-season dips he has, and he does rebound from them. So I said he had dropped to 69. I mean, nice. 61.9 mid-season. I think he ended the season, again, way up at 63.7. So he does rebound, but when he hits those gulfs, that's a risky point. You've got it, like, I kind of want to see higher valleys out of him.
Consistency is important in terms of every position, and to be great, you have to be consistent. But, I mean, I don't know what people were expecting out of Lamar Jackson last year. Like, I think what it is just he was poor in the playoffs. You know, didn't throw a passing touchdown in 2 games, threw a couple interceptions, and obviously didn't make it too deep into the playoffs. But I'm not here to bag on a quarterback for a sample size of 2. I know playoff football is when things get important and things, you know, the level of competition rise, and if your quarterback isn't rising to that, then maybe that's a concern. But this guy's coming off an MVP season and then followed up with a pretty darn good still season. I mean, like 99.3 passer rating, 73.7 QBR. Like those are still very good, very high numbers. And that's not even mentioning the fact that the dude has run for over 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons.
He doubled his interception numbers last year. That worries me too.
Doubled it from when? He went from 6 to 9.
No, he had 9 in 2 years. He had 9 last year.
Okay, yeah, 9 in 2 years.
So, yeah, 9 in 2 years. But again, that's also done on a lot fewer attempts than someone like Kyler Murray, who had 12. But sure, he had half the attempts of Kyler Murray.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, the one last thing I want to say, and I swear to God, it's not a lazy take, but it's just looking at quarterback usage. When you look at Cam Newton, he had a little less rushing attempts than Lamar Jackson does heading into his MVP season. So, like, I think right now Lamar Jackson has 482 attempts. Going into his MVP season, Cam Newton actually had 467. And then in 2015, Panthers go 15-1. Cam Newton has an incredible year. But then after that, Cam Newton's play just fell off of the table. So when it comes to Lamar Jackson and all of that extra abuse that he's taking as a runner, and you talk about the shelf life of running backs in the NFL, this is a guy who has 482 carries as an NFL quarterback. So you wonder where either he's going to completely break the mold, or he's going to eventually kind of fall in line to that same level of trajectory as other quarterbacks who came before him. And I worry that Cam Newton's career arc is a story that maybe Lamar Jackson's will also follow.
It's an interesting point.
Yeah, I don't want to hold too much of the histrionics because we could go back and we could look at, like, again, Robert Griffin III in here too. And
yeah, but Robert Griffin,
that was
even
freak.
close.
That was
also,
freak. Yeah, but like I
and
think Cam Newton's the good comp though. I think he throws better than Cam Newton did, even in his MVP season. But it's that same thing, as you say. Like, we look at this with running backs all the time. How much, where do we put on the treads? And when you are a run-heavy quarterback, that kind of matters too.
Lamar Jackson would have jumped on the fumble.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a bad take. Now that's a bad take. Everyone gives me crap. Thank you, Jeremy, for pulling me out of my tailspin by being my wingman here. With a bad take like Lamar Jackson would have jumped on the fumble. That's our bottom 5. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the top 5 is here, and maybe we will stop crapping on the quarterbacks we have put in our top 10. We'll be right back on the Pride of Detroit PODcast.
That was mostly a joke.
No, I know.
Let me get into alerts real quick. Our good friend Bearded Blevin stopped by. 14 months in a row, 15 overall, says 15 months. Stafford is the number 1. Lions will win the Super Bowl with Stafford in 3 years. That would be the happiest moment of my life.
What is happening to Ryan's audio? Someone asked. Yeah, Ryan, I think it's his internet or something. It just kind of...
That happens every once in a while.
Yeah, usually what happens is then it turns onto the feed and, like, Ryan's voice pitches down really hard. And if I don't catch it, sometimes I can catch it and fix it. Other times it's just,
to be honest, here's what happens. It's bedtime when we get to like 7:30, and that's when the girls have like
Netflix.
They each have their own tablets that they get for like 30 minutes before bed. So that's what's happening.
Yes, Mike Payton really had Goff at number 10.
We'll show you guys everyone's list after we go through the top 5 here, if you want.
Can I ask, because I saw he deleted it. What did he mean by, like, calamari for Hamza? Someone was asking about Hamza's list.
I don't know what that meant. That's why I deleted it. He said, like, if Deshaun Watson doesn't count, put in calamari. I don't know what that meant.
By the way, shout out to everyone attacking me for Daniel Jones, even though Ryan did 11 people on his list. And number 11 is Daniel Jones.
That was just going back to the discussion we had about wide receivers. Remember during the wide receiver list cast, we talked about Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
Kind of. What did we say?
Kind of.
I don't remember.
I remember, like, Jeremy saying something along the lines of, like, well, if you like Daniel Jones so much, I wonder where he's going to be in your quarterback list cast. And I was like, maybe he'll be in my top 10.
Didn't make it. Did you
not make it?
Do we want to talk about Baker at all? Baker?
Yeah, I feel like Baker's an odd one because I think he can grow here, but I totally get if he just completely craters this year too. He's just not consistent right now. His numbers never, like, he's like a low 60% completion percentage career in 3 years. He has like he's got 5 digits of yards he's thrown for, but he just hasn't really been that accurate. So I like him.
Yeah.
I think he can keep growing. And I think the past year he got a lot better, but I totally get the reservations on Baker Mayfield.
He's tricky for me because, one, I don't particularly like him much. I don't mind players with personality, but I just don't like Baker's personality. Personal preference. I'm not saying he should change who he is, whatever. I just don't like him. But it's a balance between, did he actually improve or was it team improvement, right? Because they go from he had a 6-7 record his rookie year, 6-10 the year before that, and then they jump to 11-5, and suddenly Baker gets a lot more attention. But you look at some of his numbers, like you said, like a lot of them are pedestrian. He's not throwing for a ton of yards. He's not throwing a ton of attempts. His completion percentage is low. Yards per attempt is pretty average. But goes from 14 interceptions to 21 interceptions to 8 interceptions, cuts his interception percentage in half from really both his rookie season and even more so last year. That's a big change. I mean, we saw that happen with Matthew Stafford early in his career, and he became a much better quarterback once he got the interceptions under control. Now, 1 year of getting your interceptions under control doesn't mean they are under control, but it's better. And again, part of that I think is him improving, but part of that is also the team improving and Nick Chubb becoming a top 3 running back. The defense suddenly getting it all together because they got a lot of pieces, a lot of good defenders on that team. And when all those pieces are working together, you don't have to throw as many risky passes. You got a better running game. Might open up some things in terms of receiver routes and things like that. So I think I need another year of good Baker Mayfield to put him on my list, but it wouldn't surprise me to see him put together another really good year and maybe make our list next year.
Yeah, for me, I just look at the completion percentage there for last year. It wasn't much better or worse than those years prior. So that's where I have some of that reservation.
Yeah. But he was on your list.
Yeah.
At 8.
He was on my list. He was on my list because I don't know. I think because I see some people still going on the Daniel Jones thing, but I just think guys like Mayfield and Jones are better than this middle pack by quite a bit that we've now developed of Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr. I don't know.
Here's my thing with Baker, and he didn't make my list. He's probably just outside the top 10, but I think that's a greater indictment on the quarterback position in the NFL than it is, saying that he's not good. But with Baker, it just seems like he has his highs, but then he has his lows, and his lows are real low. Yeah. It seems like he'll have some real stinker games. Like last year when, at this point, I think Cleveland had, they were, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. They were 4-1 heading into Pittsburgh, and they lost 38-7. And Baker was 10 of 18 with 2 interceptions. He got sacked 4 times. He has those games all of a sudden, and it's just he looks very, very average.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a guy that they have to rely on very much. I mean, he's a guy that throws low 200 yards most weeks.
Yeah, right. And you look at a lot of the games that they win, they're not putting up 30 points.
Right.
They're putting up 22 or 24 or 27. It's on the back of their defense that's winning them games. And I think that's why he'll get probably even more rub this year is because Cleveland's defense, I think, has even improved from a year ago. And, just that kind of support, you can see what it does for a quarterback. I mean, look what it did for Matthew Stafford in 2014, right?
I think this is fascinating. His yards per game went from 266 his rookie year to 239 his second year, 222 last year. And then you look at his QBR, not his pass rating, goes from 51.2 to 54.4 to 72.2. He's better when he's not utilized
when you
as
take
much.
When you take the ball out of his hands, and you let that running game do all the talking for you,
It is funny. This is our first list cast where we haven't mentioned PFF grades in the first segment at all. Would you guys like to know something?
Is it because I didn't put the key of it in the bottom?
No, I haven't. Well, A, I didn't pull it up until a little bit ago, but also B, some of them are just weird. Again, probably more in my point, Lamar Jackson came in at 16 overall in PFF grade. Justin Herbert, who I've seen people talk about, I agree that Justin Herbert isn't getting the respect, probably not even from us here. Came in at 15. Stafford was 14. Kyler Murray was 13. Jeremy's love for Kirk Cousins, this is in his favor. He came in 11. Derek Carr is 10. Derek Carr was 10th overall from PFF last year. Get the fuck out of here.
Derek Carr's a little underrated, but he's also
he is not. He's garbage. He's not fucking garbage. He's garbage. He's garbo.
He's firmly in the 10 to 16 range.
No, he's not.
He is.
Lower end of that.
Is he better than Jared Goff, Chris? You shouldn't have to pause. You shouldn't have to pause.
They are the same picture. They're the same tier? Yes. They're the same person.
You know what? I actually like this question. I'm curious as what our Twitch crowd says.
What's that?
Who's better, Jared Goff or Derek Carr?
Derek Carr.
but half of them aren't watching I mean, most of them aren't watching Raiders games, and I have to work with a lot of people who watch Raiders games.
I mean, no one was watching Rams games here, West Coast,
or Chargers games.
I suppose that's true. Yeah. All right.
Carr is not on par with Stafford.
Statistically, they are.
Absolutely not.
Most chat is saying Carr, yet the vote right now is 3-1 Jared Goff.
Jared Goff's a better quarterback than Derek Carr, according to the chat.
According to the poll in chat, the actual chat itself,
it's almost
everyone is saying Carr in the chat itself, but the poll.
No,
okay,
it's
now the
tied
poll's
now. It's tied now. Carr is getting ahead. Yep.
I would say refresh the stream. It'll be up for another 2 minutes here. Carr's starting to pull away now.
It's still close. Like I think they're the same person. I just do. I think Carr's got a better supporting cast on the offense.
I mean, yeah, he does have I would say he had a better running game past 2 years.
Yeah.
Let me say this and this really limits it to only 16 quarterbacks because this is minimum dropbacks, 80% of 683. But Jared Goff by far has the lowest average depth of target at 6.7 yards.
But that's just
Derek Carr's was at 8.5.
But
that is just last year.
Feels like a coaching move more than a Jared Goff move, and maybe it's a coaching move because he doesn't believe in Jared Goff.
Because of what they had, yeah,
but
exactly.
I don't know, like I almost want to throw out last year for Jared Goff because it was such a weird, like.
You want to throw it out like you want to throw out his long.
Yeah, like as long as like his shortest, you got to take away his longest and his shortest pass. So take out his 2020 and his 2017. Just base him on 2018. But I mean, you have to admit, like last year was really weird for Jared Goff, right? Like,
no, he cratered. He was not great for most of the rest of those years prior, but he was abnormally bad last year.
Well, I just feel like he had his hands tied behind his back.
Yeah. Robo, I can't believe how many Lions fans love Goff now. Wish we'd seen their opinions last year. Let me tell you, Mad Men meme here. I didn't think about Goff at all last year, not for a second. That's my opinion of Goff last year. I didn't remember he existed. The Rams were a defense only team.
There's that great meme about like what women will do with the time machine versus what men will do with the time machine, and like totally man with the time machine move is to go back in like November of last year and be like, would you trade Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff and some draft picks? And everybody would be like, hell no.
I would have been, hell no.
No, I would have found, but see, if I'm going to go back in time, I would have gone back to find a bookie and put money on Stafford being the first quarterback traded in the offseason.
John says Jared Goff got benched for John Wolford and they improved. That says everything about Goff. Did they improve?
They did not improve with Wolford. They did not.
I mean,
Goff was also hurt.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of like a pseudo bench. Like he was technically still active, but he didn't start.
By the way, where did all the love for Ryan Tannehill go? Ryan was pumping him up in a scraps a while back, and he was 5th on PFF last year.
Oh, okay. Let me say something about Ryan Tannehill that, like, after I dug into the numbers a little bit.
I was trying to find that segment because I liked the stat you gave. Then I saw everyone else.
I was a little
surprised
not to see him on your list. He probably would have pushed him into our top 10 if you had him on your list.
Yeah, I just think that when I dug into the numbers, like I found a guy who actually made like according to PFF, like he was he was right there with Carson Wentz and Drew Lock and Josh Allen in turnover worthy plays
last year.
Yeah.
That's interesting because he has 9, 6, and 7 interceptions in the past 3 years, which is pretty good. Anytime you're under 10, I would call that good.
Yeah, he had 20. Let me see. He had 22 turnover worthy plays, and if you went by turnover worthy play percentage, he was pretty high up there. And this is for a guy who doesn't really drop back and throw the ball a ton.
Here's an interesting stat that I'm just seeing now. He led the league last year in fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives. 5 and 6 respectively.
Nice. I would like to see what Derrick Henry did on those drives.
I mean, game-winning drives. You're usually throwing the ball in game-winning drives. Depending when they happen.
So we have another list cast to redeem.
Yeah.
Oh, right. List cast.
Top 5 worst
flags
thrown on the Lions.
Yeah, can I do mine? I only have 3.
That's fine. I think 3
This is a terrible thing.
Yeah. All right. Number 1 is obviously Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fuck that.
Terrible. Awful. Don't need to talk about it anymore. Number 2 is Trey Flowers in Green Bay.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's worse than number 3, which is the Hail Mary in
Devin
Ford Field.
Taylor.
Just because it felt like it was more consequential.
Phantom face mask, yeah.
Just because it seemed like the Lions had some goodwill going into that game against Green Bay. It was Monday night. It was a super important game. If the Lions would have came away with a win right there, Jeremy's least favorite intangible momentum is kind of in their favor. And it was just an awful call.
Which one?
Yeah, right? What could I be talking about? Yeah, the Trey Flowers call.
But of which Trey? I mean, he got called for illegal hands to the face twice in that game, both on third downs.
That's right, yeah. Either one.
Trying to think
so
if
for
there's
me,
a monumental one that you've missed.
So I've got a few that are kind of outside the box that have just always stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
So these might not be in the top 10, but consider that I'm working from the other end of this Ryan just did top 3 and I'm working from the other end or something.
Okay.
So one of them, the top one for me is still stuck in my craw is Jim Shorts getting flagged for challenging a play he wasn't allowed to challenge.
That's a good one.
That was a good one.
That is a good one. That's very Lions. The other one is, do you remember during the replacement ref era?
Mm-hmm.
Who was it? Was it Stephen Tulloch got flagged? I'm sure. Hold up one second. I just had it up, but yeah, here we go. So Stephen Tulloch, he was flagged for. It was against the Titans. He was flagged for a helmet-to-helmet hit.
I don't remember that.
It's supposed to be 15 yards, but the replacement refs walked off those 15 yards starting at the Lions 44 instead of Tennessee's 44. So it was actually a 27-yard personal foul that put the Titans in field goal range.
Oh yeah, brother.
That was a pretty good one. I don't remember it at all, but that sounds like something that happened. Yeah,
that was probably one of the peak of replacement ref times.
You got me thinking of the one that Cordy just put in the chat. The push-off, the Eric Ebron push-off against the Titans.
Oh, against the Titans? Yeah.
In that game where there was 30 total penalties called in that game.
Oh my God.
That was a god-awful one in a game that the Lions were better team than the Titans at the time. What was that, 2016? I think it was 2016, right before the Lions started popping off.
And it was all yellow. Yeah, because it was the first year that we did soundtrack to the season.
That's right. We picked.
Oh, man.
Any other ones? I feel like those are the main
I mean,
ones.
I want to say the Calvin Johnson rule.
That's technically not a flag.
That's
though.
not a flag, though.
Yeah,
but,
that's the problem. It's half of those ones I want to do are ones where I wanted a flag, but we didn't get a flag.
Right.
Like the batted ball.
That's a good point. Although the batted ball one's interesting. I don't remember what the broadcast was like because I was at the game.
Yeah. But
did people know the rule at the time? Because I feel like most people didn't know that rule. I certainly didn't know that rule. So me on the field, I didn't even realize there was a controversy. I thought it was just holy shit, I can't believe Calvin fumbled at the half-yard line for a game-winning touchdown. I don't remember what the hubbub was.
I don't feel like a lot of people knew the rule. I think it was something that was retroactive, after the game.
Yeah.
It had me think of another one that always sticks in my craw. It's the one I bring up a lot just because it highlights how stupid of a rule spot fouls are. but like the 60 or 6, I think it was a 66-yard penalty. I think it was on Nevin Lawson for pass interference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if I can find that.
What year was that?
That had to be like
This
5 years
doesn't
ago.
this doesn't really count, and like the Lions were actually the beneficiary of it. But do you remember when it was
66 yards, nailed it.
what was it? It was the Lions Steelers tie, and Jerome Bennis called tails
Yeah.
for the coin toss, and the refs thought it was he had called heads, even though Bettis kept saying I said tails.
Yeah, was that a
ended-
Thanksgiving game?
That was.
It was,
Overtime.
and Jason Hansen scored the game-tying field goal. I mean, I'm sorry, that was a win that year. I don't know why I thought it was a fucking tie. No. It was in overtime. Jason Hansen wins on the field goal. Yeah, because Jerome Bettis called tails, and the officiating crew thought he called heads.
This is the 66-yard pass interference call. Like, the receiver just freaking falls down, or there's no push. He just trips over. That costs the Lions 66 yards. They get put on the freaking 5-yard line for that.
Yeah, this is why spot foul was bad.
Apollo
Every time
spot
I bring up spot foul bad, people are like, "Oh, but then they'll just if you want to stop an offense, intentionally OPI and like for only 15 yards." Like, no, nobody does that. This isn't the NBA. Shut up. Because if that actually happened, you'd see that like all the time in college football, and it doesn't happen.
John, why did you link that? Why did you link that? No one click on that link in chat. No one. Chris, I see you doing it right now. Don't do it.
I did. I don't even listen. I've seen it 100 times, man. I mean, I'm a mod. And can I delete John's? No. Can a mod not delete other people's messages? Okay.
Yeah, I think that probably covers it. Chad is already getting annoyed with this list because it's bringing up so many bad memories.
Listen, from the chatter I saw in chat while we were doing the actual list cast, this might be like a balm to our chat today because they're mad with our list so far.
Vidanda, exactly. Pain and suffering, as Jamal Williams said. That's all we know.
Oh shit, that's right. I need to go back and clip his face for a new emote.
Right. How do we animate that? I would love to get when he was doing like that creepy face that he makes at strangers sometimes.
Are you able to do animated on Discord? Because I know I can put it in as like a sticker on. I mean, not on Discord. I know. Can you animate it on Twitch? Because I can put like.
No, I don't know how to do any of that. The thing I would love, because now you can do animated emotes on Twitch now, but I don't know how you animate something with a transparent background. Like, I can make a GIF, but I don't know how to make it with a transparent background.
GIFs have transparency built in. It's like PNG format. Like it has transparent. You can make transparent pixels.
But I don't know how to do that.
I might be able to. I'd have to find that. Where's Chad?
Nerds.
Send you the video. I'll do that eventually.
We'll work on it. Yeah.
Ryan knows how to
Let's
ask him.
cast.
Ryan doesn't know how to do anything technology based.
Are you kidding me?
He doesn't
Did
even
you
know
see
how to
my
light
Malik
up a
Willis
room.
gif?
Do you know how the
Yes, I
light
do.
switch works?
Do you see any lighting behind me?
No. So that leads me to believe you don't.
I don't know how to install any lights. No, I don't know how to install any lights.
Ruby is still asleep on my bed. I'm kind of getting worried.
That she's too comfortable. He's too comfortable.
Usually he follows me around room to room and just kind of sits out of picture. Like, I don't remember if I've ever left him on a bed where he's just like sleeping there. So I don't know. It's been so hot here. I have like boxes for him to hide out in. So like, kind of getting a little worried, but I'm not going to get up and look
too
now.
hot. It's probably just a heat thing.
I have the AC and a fan pointed at him. So
well, then that's definitely why he hasn't moved. That sounds like a great
Maybe.
place to be. I want to be there right now.
Maybe he needs extra naps today. Ruby sleeps like 22 hours a day.
That's a life, man.
Cats rule.
Yeah, being awake is awful.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here. Wait, that's what does he say?
Wait, for what?
The I think you should leave skit where he's in the suit.
Oh,
I don't want to.
Oh,
I don't want to exist, or
I just remember the part. He's like the chin. Chin is
The chin is killing me. The chin is
Now-
killing you.
now-
Yes, it is.
yeah,
You
chin
don't
is
know.
existence is pain. I think my favorite still has to be it's that, well, besides Corncob TV. And again, this is me who's only seen like an episode and a half so far, but not skipping lunch was a great way to open the season.
I don't want to be around anymore. That's what it is.
I don't want to be around. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, hot dog in the sleeve. Hot dog in the sleeve is a lot like in season 1. You haven't seen it yet, but the door. It's a great way to start, but it kind of gets lost in the mix because
Yeah,
there's just like
there's some
better
sketches where I'm
sketches,
just-
but
My problem is that you give me controls and like something is very cringy, I just can't stand it. And I just start flipping through. Like, I couldn't watch half of the Buff Boys skit. I don't know
Wait,
what it was.
Maybe we
of
goosed
the
him up a
what
little bit.
sketch? Oh, little buff boys.
Little Buff Boys, yeah.
The circus term. We goosed them up.
Yeah, and also like, yeah, the end of that final sketch there too with the like that got kind of that was like I felt like personally skeeved. I don't know why.
What is? I don't remember what the last one in the first.
No, it's the haunted house where he just
Oh.
starts
Oh.
adult tour.
It's the adult tour, so we can do whatever we want. We can say whatever the hell we want. Just
Yeah, just it was funny. It's just it was also very like this is why I can't do too much skit comedy. It just like I start tensing up so bad, man.
it brings up such a good point because when he pulls him aside, he's like, "You can't change the rules just because you don't like how I'm following them."
That's a good point to you.
That's a great point.
You're done. You're done.
Hold on, I'm just getting stats up
All right.
for our last 5 here, and then I'm gonna be ready to go.
Yep. I'm trying to remember if there was something else from this week, but I think I didn't have much else.
I can't believe we're just over a week away from training camp. I'm very
Yeah,
excited.
well, you know what it is like, and maybe this kind of goes back to our topic a little about how annoying NBA can be sometimes. Like these finals are still going on. It was like 3 days between games now. It's like the finals are still here, but they're also not here.
Yeah, the finals for the Detroit Pistons are here because Cade Cunningham is at Comerica Park watching the Tigers play.
Is he?
Yeah.
Gasp.
Nice. But he's going to get traded. But we're going to trade the pick to Oklahoma City. They got to
For draft picks.
Yeah. Oklahoma City just took all your draft picks. Meme.
What are we doing?
We're doing the Jamal
Night-
Williams,
Night at the Roxbury.
or that too. I don't have the neck to do Night of the Roxbury. I was looking at a Cade Pistons jersey as you said that, Ryan. Yeah.
Buy it. Lock it up.
Mm-hmm. Let's get back into it.
Basketball.
They're playing basketball.
Get out of here, chat. There we go.
Sorry, I've got 8 windows open. Let me find my podcast one. Welcome back to the Pride of Detroit POD cast. It is time for the top 5 in our quarterbacks list cast. Now, I think we spent our bottom 5 yelling at each other, yelling at me, yelling some more, and then poo-pooing on like half the guys down there. Let's see if that changes here, because number 5 is Josh Allen, who I think most of us have come around on Josh Allen. Last year, there was some resistance. Even in season, there was some resistance, but I feel like that is all folded. Josh Allen now belongs in the top 5 camp, which is not something I thought I would ever really see, but it's hard to overstate what a jump he had last year. He was 7th in PFF's grading. I think he posted a north of 90 overall offensive grade. His completion percentage jumps up to just shy of 70% for the season. 4,500 yards, 37 touchdowns. His yards per attempt jumps all the way up to yards gained per attempt jumps all the way up to 7.9. Has he arrived, Jeremy?
I mean, I owe a full mea culpa to the Bills Mafia. I did not think Josh Allen was a good quarterback through 2 years. And to be fair, he wasn't a good quarterback the first 2 years.
He didn't even crack 60% completion.
No, he was bad. He was bad. But I mean, just a monumental jump in year 3. Like you said, 1,500 more yards, 17 more touchdowns, 1.2 yards per attempt more. I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen a year 3 jump this big at any position in the NFL. And maybe now we're overcompensating here a little bit, and maybe he's not necessarily going to continue to have a season like he did last year, but he showed so many things that I didn't realize he could do. Like, I mean, we're talking about all his passing stats, but again, he's got the mobility too. 421 rushing yards, and that was his low. Like, that was all that he really did that was successful through the first 2 years, and he continued to do. I mean, 8 rushing touchdowns in his 3 seasons, so 25 total rushing touchdowns alone. And I mean, you just saw him do things that you didn't think he was capable of in the passing game last year, and it almost got his offensive coordinator a head coaching job. Right, Brian Dable is a guy that a lot of people were talking about, and I kind of I would have liked to see him get a head coaching job and just see what happens to Josh Allen after that. But I have to give it up. Like, that was a phenomenal, a historic season of Bills football in general, and he was really, I think, the catalyst behind all of that. So yeah, I mean, I have to give him props. It was an amazing season, and because he's a lot of fun to watch, I hope it happens again this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're not alone, Jeremy, when it comes to the apology tour that Josh Allen sent through Buffalo last season, because the stat that we didn't highlight, we kind of did, but adjusted completion percentage, that's taking out all the drops, 79.1%. There's one quarterback who played the same amount of games that had a higher adjusted completion percentage than him, and that guy is going to be talked about later on our list. But we saw the jump that Josh Allen did that we haven't seen, like a quarterback who played as bad as Josh Allen did in his first 2 seasons make that kind of leap. Like, quarterbacks usually don't have that kind of leash. And whether or not this was, last year was like a make or break it year for Josh Allen, the guy made it. And now he's here to stay. The one thing that he does need to clean up, though, is turnover worthy plays. He was second in the NFL. The only player that he trailed behind was Carson Wentz.
Not a name you want to be compared to.
Not a name that you want to be held in the same breath as. But, like, to be fair, I mean, Patty Mahomes was up there too in terms of turnover worthy plays. But I guess that's kind of what happens when you have a quarterback who has a big arm and who does want to try to fit passes into really tight windows. So we'll see if Josh Allen can stick in the spot, or if he's due for some of those turnover worthy plays to turn into interceptions next year.
Speaking of interesting spots to end up in, Tom Brady the GOAT comes in at number 4 on our list. Now, again, we're looking towards this year. We're looking towards what they're going to do in a single season, how they're going to rank for a single season coming up. And there's no other way around it other than Tom Brady is, look, the guy's awesome. He's beat you over the head so many times that he's awesome, okay? He's awesome. He's the GOAT. He has tons of rings. He's going to go down as one of the greatest football players in history ever, okay? You've beat me over the head repeatedly. But I don't know how many more years he's going to keep doing it. And do you guys believe him when he says that he played on, like, an injured leg?
A partially torn MCL?
A partially torn MCL? Like, do you believe that, or is that just because I've seen some people doubt that? It's kind of like when was it Conor McGregor after he loses that fight the other week, he came out and said, "Oh yeah, I had a stress fracture."
Was it fully torn?
That's kind of
Chet's telling me it's fully torn, but either way, like
fully torn. Either way, like
I don't know.
There was apparently, by the way, the Buccaneers can get massively fined if that's actually true, and not Tom Brady talking out of his ass because they didn't disclose that injury.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to know exactly what's going on there because a lot of players deal with have lingering injuries the entire year that aren't on the injury report every week. Like we talked about Halapuli Vaitai and his foot injury that he suffered in training camp and missed a couple games with, but the games he played with wasn't on the injury report, and then he ends up going on the IR because of the foot later. Like it's one of those things where I think, yes, he probably had a torn MCL or whatever it was. He probably had a knee issue, but it was just kind of one of those. And listen, I've never had a torn MCL. I don't know what it feels like. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how much pain is involved. I don't know how much management you have to do or mobility or anything like that. But players have injuries a lot of times that aren't on the injury report. And it's lingering things. It's things that they get off-season surgery for. Like Jeff Okudah, groin injury, had that coming out of Ohio State. Missed a couple games with it. Other games it wasn't on the injury report. Got surgery this offseason on it. It's just it's something that happens. So I don't know. I think I feel like part of this is people wanting to call Brady a cheater all over again.
No, I think a lot of it's the other way. It's to build up his legacy. Is like, oh, he had that season with Tampa Bay on a fully torn MCL. Look at him. Goat.
Throw that out the window. It was it was an amazing season. At age 40, whatever, people were starting to doubt. People were starting to say all the things you said at the top. Tom Brady is starting to get washed. There's no way he can continue to do it. His past few years at New England weren't that good statistically. He comes to Tampa, and yes, they have a much better team. They have much better weapons, but he goes out and does it. He goes out and tears the league a new one, and he can still do it at 40. So, yeah, he's a top 5 quarterback still. And why would I ever doubt him?
Yeah, I don't doubt him as top 5. I'm talking more that we've dropped him all the way down to 4. It seems to be, all the way down.
Ryan, give me a hot Brady take.
I don't think Tom Brady will be on our top 10 list next year.
That is. I mean, wow. Came and delivered. You think he's going to retire?
I could see him retiring. Yeah, I could see him retiring. Or here's what happens: things go south in Tampa Bay because it's so hard to repeat. Like it's so hard to climb that mountain again. And I know Tampa Bay has brought all of their pieces back, but man, I'm just saying, like, if here's the thing. To Chris's point about if this news comes out and Tom Brady is the GOAT because he did this entire season, won a Super Bowl with a torn MCL, Tampa Bay, regardless of that, has a target on their back, and I just think that at some point it's the Jesse Pinkman gift. Like he can't keep getting away with this. Like he can't keep doing this at the level he's doing it at. And so I personally think either he retires or we have reason to believe that there are 10 quarterbacks that are better than Tom Brady. And Father Time is undefeated. Yes. There is a point in time in which and I will bet on Father Time.
Yep. And by the way, we would be singing a completely different story if the officiating at the end of Green Bay, Tampa Bay probably gets called a little bit differently. Not to give a sop to the Packers slappies, but I don't know.
Yeah. And to the point about whether or not Tampa Bay will be fined or they'll have
I don't think they will. Action. I'm saying they should, maybe.
Yeah, I mean they probably should, but I think when you look at other examples of it, it's flagrant disregards of that rule. I remember reading about Ben Roethlisberger. They listed him as being off for practice because it was a veteran rest day when he actually had an injury. Those are flagrant disrespects to the rule. Whereas I don't know, with Brady, like Jeremy said, there can be lingering issues that happen all season long, and maybe his MCL was in bad shape, and then all of a sudden, it eventually got torn all the way. And to that point, Toradol is a hell of a drug.
It is a hell of a drug. This is where we throw one last member of the Pride of Detroit family under the bus. You guys have been bagging on me for Lamar Jackson. Jerry Mallory did not put Tom Brady on his top 10.
That seems kind of silly.
Yeah. Not here to defend himself, though, so we'll just leave it at that. You can go and tweet him at Jerry Mallory NFL. Find out what happened.
But maybe he just thinks Father Time is also undefeated, and it's going to come for him a lot sooner than the rest of us do.
Get in line of people who had that take before an NFL season about Tom Brady and got burned by it.
They've been doing this take for 10 years. No, I get it, but still.
Teflon Tom.
One guy who Father Time is not coming for just yet is our number 3 on our list, Russell Wilson of the Seattle Seahawks. Question mark if he's still with the Seattle Seahawks by this time next year, though. But for right now, he's with the Seahawks. He's back being the trying to be the baby face again. Go Hawks! And I think it's impressive what he's doing there, even as he seems to have no team left around him.
Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks have been relevant his entire career. They've won 10 or more games in what? 9 out of 10 of his seasons. The other season was a 9-7 year. Like, one of the more winningest quarterbacks of this era, and say what you will about quarterback wins and blah, 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 blah. But, like, he's got the stats to back it all up.
He had the most touchdowns in a single season that he's ever had last year.
Yeah, 40. And passer rating above his average, 105.1. His average is 101.7 for his career. Dude is just a model of consistency. And really, to me, the only red mark on his entire resume is the sack numbers, right? And people are starting to point the finger at him. Like, Seattle's offensive line has had its issues, it's had its problems, it continues to have some problems, but a lot of people are starting to get wise to it that Russell Wilson is not doing them any favors. He's extending plays to a point where they shouldn't be extended. He's scrambling into sacks. He's being a little irresponsible with the ball sometimes over there. But other than that, the dude is just like, he's got everything. He's got mobility. He's got one of the more beautiful deep balls that I've ever seen in this game, and with crisp accuracy. It's just he's always a joy to watch, and a guy that I will always make extra time to watch if I have the time.
Yeah, I'm alluded to this when I was talking about Josh Allen, but Russell Wilson, 79.4% adjusted completion percentage, which is just absolutely bonkers.
Crazy time.
And we talked about at the top about how this is independent of the situation that all these quarterbacks are in. Russell Wilson has had good running backs, great running backs. Marshawn Lynch, I think Chris Carson is a really underrated running back himself. But man, in terms of receiving talent, Russell Wilson has never really had like a surefire, like, this guy's a number one wide receiver, like, when Tom Brady had Randy Moss for a season, or when you talk about any of, some of these other quarterbacks that we've talked about on this list, Stephon Diggs all of a sudden maybe unlocks a little bit of Josh Allen that he never was able to tap into. Kirk Cousins, Stephon Diggs, or Justin Jefferson a year ago.
But most of the heavy lifting, I think we can
look at the offensive line he's dealing with now too. Jeremy brought up how much time he has to spend scrambling, and he got in trouble for it this offseason when he was on the Dan Patrick show and talked about how he'd like more. He's having trouble. His offensive line isn't giving him the protection he needs. But spot the lie there. 2020, that was a bad offense. That was an offensive line that did him no favors.
ESPN doesn't think so.
ESPN doesn't think so? Okay, great.
They got, what were they in the top 10 of their pass rush win rate?
Pass block win rate.
Yeah. But no, that's what I'm saying. Like, there is, he's been getting sacked 40 to 50 times a year to a point where it's like, okay, at some point it can't just be the offensive line. You can't keep continuing to blame the offensive line as they continue to flow through different players at those positions. He's got to take some blame here, and I think calling out your offensive line is a bad move. But
no, that's a bad move regardless. Yeah. It's a bad move regardless. Like, There's a reason why when you're a rookie quarterback, you buy your offensive line nice steak dinners.
Well, I don't think you need to look any further than he was second in the league in scrambles behind Deshaun Watson, who Deshaun Watson was probably legitimately running for his life.
Yeah. Number 2 on our list, and now we're finally getting up into the stratified air of stuff we know, and I know we're being a little hypocritical because we said we don't know if Deshaun Watson was going to play this year, but we have no problem rating Aaron Rodgers the second best quarterback this upcoming season. And I'm still convinced that he will not come back to the Packers, but I am starting to become less and less convinced of that by the day. And I'm not sure what to make of it, but there's no other ways around how damn good he is.
I mean,
what else can we say? You guys know.
It was another thing where people were starting to wonder if Aaron Rodgers was done after 2019 and not all was well in Green Bay and all that sort of stuff. Then he comes out and has a MVP season. I don't know what to say about the guy. Like, he makes plays that I've never seen anyone make before him or after him. He's laser focused. He's an asshole, but the kind of asshole you need to be for greatness. And
Jamal Williams talked about it. He's a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams on our interview talked about it. It's like you get 2, maybe 3 chances with Aaron Rodgers. He wants the best out of you.
Yep.
I just wish he wasn't in Green Bay. And if he goes to the Broncos, then I will watch every Broncos game I can.
The one thing I want to say about him, and it bears repeating every year, is just how amazing he is at avoiding interceptions. It's unmatched by anyone in the NFL. He had 5 last year, 4, then 2, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 8, 6. Hasn't thrown more than 10 interceptions in the season since 2010.
He has a command of the field that is second to none, in that he understands where the field is going. First off, on where to put a ball to avoid interceptions. But also, when a play breaks down, he knows exactly how far he needs to scramble, how far he can scramble, and where he needs to go to get out and what he needs to do to avoid taking a hit. Almost every time. And that's what makes him as a Lions fan, so damn frustrating to watch, because he manipulates the field and he just, yeah. It's like a cheat code.
Of any quarterback who played at least 16 games, Aaron Rodgers had the fewest turnover-worthy plays in the league at 12. I think that goes to, give a number to what we're kind of talking about and highlighting that point that we're trying to drive home. But 48 touchdowns to 5 interceptions and having a 81.3% adjusted completion percentage is absolutely bonkers. Like, those if it wasn't for the guy who's number 1 on our list, I mean, there's reason to believe that Aaron Rodgers has been the best quarterback over the past 5 years, bar none.
And to be clear, Aaron Rodgers is the reason why our number 1 isn't our consensus number 1. Because someone, and I don't want to out them because our live chat is just annoyed that we're talking about Aaron Rodgers as much as we are.
You just outed him.
I may have just accidentally outed him. But yeah,
that was the slit, baby.
One person may have put him number 1, and I won't say I won't give a shit about who it is.
Now you did that on purpose. Number 1 is Patrick Mahomes. We are not worthy. What? Just Ryan, the floor is yours. Just throw every imaginable stat you have at us. At us about the chosen one. I don't even care that he just lost the Super Bowl. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about how the Super Bowl went and showed how smart it was of the Lions to go get a franchise tackle like Penei Sewell, right? Because Patrick Mahomes was running for his life in that Super Bowl. Poor guy. That's my baby boy out there that people are feasting on, and I got to watch that on national television. But I think the thing about Patrick Mahomes that has all of us so wrapped up and enveloped and invested in him as a quarterback is because he's kind of the antithesis of Aaron Rodgers in the sense that Aaron Rodgers is this laser focus, as Jeremy points out, operates from the pocket. He's a precision passer, or when he's rolling out, it's designed to be that way. Patrick Mahomes is the backyard football. Like, he's the guy that all of us, like, when we see him play on Sundays, we're like, that's who we thought we were when we were playing in the backyard. Like, he's improvising plays. He's doing no look passes. He's, just carving up defenses in every way imaginable. And I think that he truly tickles that fantasy about, backyard sports being, and then playing at the highest level and succeeding and achieving at the highest level. Like, Patrick Mahomes is everything that you want your quarterback to be, both statistically and entertainment wise.
I don't have anything to add. I mean, this guy's gonna set the record books on fire by the time he turns 30, and that's still 5 years away. Like, we've got a ton of fun Patrick Mahomes football ahead of us, and that alone should make you an NFL fan for the next decade. Hopefully more than that. Hopefully 2 decades.
Let's look at. I'm still amazed that he had close to 500 yards running, in the Super Bowl before his passes/sacks. Like, it's amazing that he had to run that much, but also amazing that he stayed alive that long too.
And how many yards rushing?
You mean scrambling?
He ran a total. No, this is from ESPN Stats and Info. According to Next Gen Stats, Patrick Mahomes ran. I said rushing. I didn't mean that. Ran a total of 497 yards before his passes/sacks. So 497 yards, he was avoiding getting.
Here's the part of the Patrick Mahomes hype that I will not get behind, is marveling over his Super Bowl in which he didn't do anything. Like, he ran around and made throws at ridiculous angles that resulted in incompletions. Like, I'm sorry. That's Mahomes mania a little bit too far.
Guess what, Jeremy? I'm going to steal this from Ryan. The best of ability is availability. The best ability for a quarterback is not going down.
Jeremy,
no.
Jeremy, you just need to understand that Chris is really big into players not going down. That's why he isn't high on TJ Hawkinson.
Settle
That's
down.
why he's very high on.
Wow. Do not take that out of context.
Okay. All right. Quarterback list cast.
Batman not high on your list. No, that would make Batman high on your list, right?
Oh my God.
How'd you do that? Why'd you do that? How? We're going through. You're the journalistic. You're the beat writer guy. You're the big J journalism here. Who, what, where, when, why, and how did you do that?
You're welcome, is my answer.
I'm amazed and disgusted.
I'm disgusted. I'm just disgusted. I'm giving out bad stats because I just...
It's not bad? You counting down our list now, because that is the best part of... This is the best part of our 2021 list cast.
I'm going to have to pre-record these next time and just really add the effects into it. Sorry. Now Twitch chat is distracting me with some of the stuff being said. Number 10, Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowboys. Number 9, Kyler Murray, Arizona Cardinals. Number 8, Deshaun Watson, Houston Texans /banished /question mark. Number 7, Matthew Stafford, Detroit, Los Angeles Rams. Sorry, Jeremy. Number 6, Lamar Jackson, Baltimore Ravens. Number 5, Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills, Bills Mafia. Number 4, Tom Brady, Retirement Town, USA /steroids cycle place. You can get all your blood spun down in Tampa, man. Number 3, Russell Wilson, running for his life, Seattle Seahawks. Number 2, Aaron Rodgers, Cheddarhead, Green Bay Packers. And number 1, the chosen one out of where did he grow up, Ryan?
In all of our hearts and imaginations.
Okay, fine. And at number 1, from Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs. Former Detroit Tigers draft pick.
Oh. It hurts.
Everything hurts. Everything hurts. That's how life works. Everything just hurts.
That's why I'm betting on Tom Brady not being on our list next year.
Speaking
Wow.
of betting, we talked about a potential bet between you and me, Ryan, about this list cast.
Can we fit that in real quick?
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do it.
we got time to
Because I look at this list and I am kind of disgusted by the fact that Kyler Murray is above Dak Prescott. I think that is a huge disrespect to Dak Prescott. And like I mentioned at the top of our last segment, I think Kyler Murray is hella overrated. So, as we've previously just discussed, and I think maybe Twitch chat can help us with terms on the bet, I am very confident that Dak Prescott will have a better season than Kyler Murray.
So we need to determine what makes a better season,
True.
right? Are we going to have people vote on this?
That's a good question because there's not really one metric I think that can decide this, right?
We'll have to figure.
QBR.
So what's the terms of this? What happens who if someone wins and or slash what happens if someone's lose? Like what's the payoff?
It's a good question. I do like maybe we just put it to a poll at who had the better season. I think that might be the most unbiased way to do it. Like we could do PFF grade if you want. We could do QBR. I don't think we're gonna have to really look at stats if I'm being completely honest. I think it's going to be obvious.
Should have
There's enough ballot stuffing that happens in the name bracket that I'm worried about what happens if we put this over to a poll.
That's fair.
So how about we have the staff at Pride of Detroit vote at the end of the season who had a better year, Dak Prescott or Kyler Murray?
Oh, I don't trust half those
I don't think I trust them either, especially if it depends. I think who wins that is who has the less humiliating thing on the line. Like our staff is just going to want whoever has the more humiliating pay up to pay out.
We'll work on this on the other side. We'll work on this on the other side. I think I'm going to close down the shop here, though.
Okay, but
Unless
just
you
know,
guys have,
everyone out there pay attention to those two guys' careers this year.
we also need to figure out what happens if one of you wins / loses.
Yes,
That's what I'm more interested in right now.
we'll figure that out as well.
We will figure that out. We'll figure out everything else about the Detroit Lions. We are done with Listcast. The season's almost here. We're going to start talking about training camp next week. So be sure to subscribe on the podcast feeds, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all those things we told you about at the start. Follow us on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit. And as always, we will see you Starside.